Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались в кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячих отар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Їх доводи всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там пивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 1144 of the War News Stream. It's good to see you all once again. And tonight we have very big news that a massive fire has erupted at Russia's Engels airbase. Also, China is escalating their military purge, and U.S. officials are beginning Iran nuke talks, and also the U.S. extended sanctions on Russia today. And we have very big news to cover. And it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to cover the past 24 hours of news from around the world, as major news has developed near to the area of the Engels airbase outside of Saratov that a nuclear storage facility several miles away from the airbase within the middle of the fields due south of the city of Engels appears to have a fire that has broken out around or on the actual facility itself, and it appears to be blazing quite significantly. I do want to make this clear before we get into that news in detail here in a moment, that it does not appear that there is a risk of significant nuclear detonation, as the nuclear warheads are actually stored within these hardened shelters, meaning that the chance of the fire spreading into those bunkers or causing the detonation of nuclear fuel or explosives is highly unlikely, but still it is an incredibly concerning situation considering that nuclear weapons are so close to the ongoing blaze, as we were able to see. We have also been able to hear significant news inside the People's Republic of China that the head of the Central Military Committee of the People's Liberation Army and the Chinese Communist Party has been arrested today by the orders of Xi Jinping and its continued purge of the People's Liberation Army of non-loyalist elements that are more so adherent to the traditional founding ideology of the People's Liberation Army, according to Mao Zedong. We have also been able to hear significant news as well outside of the People's Republic of China that the United States of America, through orders of the President of the United States, has extended the sanction regimens put in place by the prior administration for one more year against the Russian Federation, showing at this point that it appears quite evidently that talks between the United States of America and the Russian Federation have stalled to such a degree that sanctions sanctions will now be implemented and continued forward and may even be added onto by the end of this month. We have also been able to hear that the United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have had a preliminary talk today ahead of the talks tomorrow that will be conducted by the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran about the nuclearization efforts by the Islamic Republic of Iran on their attempt to create and field a weapon of mass destruction. Not only that, we've been able to hear significant news once more inside the Ukrainian front lines, as Ukrainian armed forces have been able to continue to take ground within the city of Toretsk and have captured the town of Kotline in its entirety south of the city of Pokrovsk today, a major victory for the Ukrainian defensive forces in that direction, and once again showing that the Russian Federation is losing a significant amount of the battles within the Donetsk Oblast at this point, while defensive measures are being taken in other areas as the Ukrainians continue to hold the line. We have a huge amount of news tonight, which is actually a little bit shocking, because earlier in the day, we were afraid that we were in an absolute drought. But tonight we actually have a major bit of news, huge pieces of news as a matter of fact, and to move y'all into them immediately, as the East German representative said that brought down the Berlin Wall. Without further delay, we are going to be moving on into the major news that we've been able to hear from inside the Russian Federation earlier today. I do want to make this a little bit clear, a couple of the major facts going into this, so that way there's not some ambiguity or mystery as to what's going on right now at Saratov. We do not understand that there was a Ukrainian drone attack that has occurred at any moment of time preceding or during the fire that we are about to be covering right now. It appears that the fire is not being caused by a Ukrainian drone attack of any kind. It appears that the fire was actually caused by some sort of mishandling or accident that occurred at the facility itself during the time of the past 24 hours. With this in mind, I also want to lay out that this fire has been ongoing since about 10 to 12 hours ago, and we do not have an exact update as to the condition or health of the fire as of this point right now. The fire may have been completely extinguished or may be ongoing at the very point that this stream is covering the news, but as we were able to understand around 10 hours ago and 6 hours ago, it appeared that the fire was still blazing quite significantly near to a specific area of the Engels airbase that is considered of a larger and significant importance. And that is going to be moving us on into the major news that we have. We were able to hear that a significant fire broke out at the Engels airbase earlier today, and we had a lot of video and picture evidence of this fire. What was interesting, however, is that we went and checked the firm's satellite to be able to see exactly where it was, and there are two blips near to the Engels airbase at the time that this fire was being reported. We did not see any fires inside of Saratov, and we did not see any fires within Engels or the direct area of the tarmac and runways of Engels airbase either. Where we saw the fires were actually a lot further south, according to the firm's satellite, and positioned near or on top of a specific facility with some severe importance for the Russian Federation, as well as the operations of Engels airbase. Engels airbase has been an airfield in operation since the early 1960s inside the Soviet Union. Since its early inception, the airbase has been home to Russian strategic bombers that have been used to either stand off against NATO forces in Turkey, the whole of Europe, and have also been used in the present day to be able to conduct precision strikes or largely missile attacks against the state of Ukraine whenever missiles are available. The importance and significance of Engels airbase has started to diminish recently over the past year, as cruise missiles that would have been provided to the Russian Air Force to be launched at the state of Ukraine have started to diminish in number due to a lack of Russian production of these missile varieties, and also due to a lack of storage of already existing missile types. For this reason, Engels airbase has not been heavily important, much like it was in the earlier years of the conflict, but nevertheless, Engels airbase still plays a very important role in Russian deterrence against the West, and not only that, nuclear armament of the Russian Federation. Several miles away from the actual airbase itself, with the tarmac and runways that can clearly be seen and are the most evident and notable feature of the airbase, lies a small facility that is pretty much completely unnoticed or unmentioned for the large part by anyone, including us here on the channel. Most importantly, the times that we've talked about ammunition storages of different types at Engels airbase, we largely talk of the conventional ammunition storage facilities that we can see over here to the eastern side of the facilities. These consist of hardened shelters and also non-hardened shelters that supply the Russian Air Force with a large amount of the conventional munitions that are loaded onto their bombers and used against the state of Ukraine over the majority of the war. However, there is a third storage facility at the airbase, which is right here, which we zoomed in on just a moment ago. This facility is surrounded by several chain link fences and also guard posts as well. The facility is quite scant, as a matter of fact. There really is not a lot inside of this massive perimeter that's been set up around this ammunition storage facility, but that is with a specific purpose. inside of this hardened shelter right here, which is the only hardened shelter in the entirety of this facility, mind you, lies the nuclear bombs and warheads that would be used to be equipped and mounted onto these Russian strategic bombers in the advent of the outbreak of nuclear war. This is something that, of course, has not really been mentioned a lot on this channel or really any other channel out there on the internet because it's never been an important thing to note until now. But with a fire clearly happening around or directly on the facility, because once again, the firm's satellite largely picks up smoke, which is showing that there is some sort of a large smoke field directly outside the perimeter and to the northwest of the facility. This is giving us a very clear idea that there is a fire directly on the facility or right outside of its perimeter, meaning that there is a fire currently happening at the nuclear storage facility at Engels Air Base. We have been able to see the actual videos of this fire, either up close or from a distance away, and it does appear that this fire is not directly on the Engels Air Base, but appears to be behind some tree lines somewhere else. If we were to look at this from another angle, we can actually see that if this was viewed from the Scod Road to the east, looking west of the facility, there are actually a decent enough amount of tree lines that actually could be showing that this fire was on this area of the facility within the northwestern side of the compound, or maybe within the direct center of the facility on top of one of the buildings that is used inside of the compound. Nevertheless, the fire was burning quite ferociously, and there were a couple of other important mentions that we need to make about the details that we have from this fire so far. Most significantly, it appears that the fire is emitting a thick black smoke. Something that you start to learn earlier on in the war in Ukraine years ago, or at least we learned here on this channel, is that smoke color tells us a lot about what is actually burning inside of these fires. Thick black smoke like this usually is not an ammunition cook-off or an ammunition explosion. This is usually some sort of a refined petroleum product on fire, or it may just be a random generic fire of another kind of a structure. Usually the only kinds of objects that burn white smoke are usually some form of munitions, at least in most instances. So this is telling us that there is some sort of a significant structure or fuel fire that is occurring near or on the nuclear depot as this video was being filmed.
Yeah, I think the Russians are saying that some fuel got spilled and somehow the fuel caught fire, probably by the Russians smoking nearby to the fuel. But that was apparently a pretty large fuel spillage for it to cause a fire like that.
It had to have been. It's an exorbitantly massive fire. The base of it is wide. Even from this distance, we can tell that the base of it appears to be about 1/8 of a mile or less in width, which is quite a large base for a fire, and it doesn't appear that there were any fuel silos or depots near to the area of that ongoing fire. We also got an additional clip as well showing a supposed fire at the airfield. This may be a clip from inside of the nuclear storage facility. We're not entirely sure, but this does once again show what was claimed to be the base of a fire today near to the area of the Engels Air Base. Once again, the only fire, or at least evidence of a fire that we have according to the firm's satellite, is from the nuclear storage depot several miles south of the actual runways of the airfield itself. We were not able to note or detect any other kinds of fires in the surrounding area over the course of the entire day, leading us largely to believe that this must be from or on the nuclear storage facility that we are seeing right here. Another thing that's interesting is that we don't really know where the second clip came from, or at least in geolocations terms. It does look like there is a decent amount of paved tarmac near to the surrounding area, possibly suggesting that it actually was on the facility and it was around one of these paved areas that we were seeing right here, but it also is likely that that clip could have been from possibly another area. It's just that we're not entirely sure on that, but we are able to confirm that, at least once again, to put this out there time and time again, the only fire that the firm's satellite was able to confirm, which is an incredibly accurate satellite for the large part, able to triangulate the locations of fires down to about several hundred yards from their actual epicenter, was showing that the only fire that occurred was directly onto this nuclear storage site. Nevertheless, I do have to say that do not have a large amount of fear. This is not going to be some sort of like a nuclear apocalypse fire, and it's not emitting a massive amount of radiation. From what we understand, the actual nuclear weapons are stored inside of this hardened shelter directly, and this hardened shelter is greatly protected against any threats from the outside. It largely would take a direct nuclear impact to actually cause any significant damage to this kind of a facility, and if the fire was on the northwestern side of the compound, it probably was not directly affecting the nuclear warheads stored inside of the hardened shelter itself. That is largely what we're understanding at this point. So, once again, we don't want people to come in here and think that the world is ending and there's a Chernobyl scale nuclear fire going on right now in Russia. There was a fire on a nuclear storage facility that appears to be of significant scale, but once again, the chances of radioactivity or any kind of fallout from that are next to zero, at least at this point. Nevertheless, a lot of people have been talking about the fact that this is wildly unsafe and dangerous for a fire to happen on a nuclear storage facility quite literally anywhere, and that I really cannot disagree with. It seems to be very unsafe for a fire to happen at a nuclear storage facility, no matter the situation. And a lot of Russian military bloggers have tried to state that fuel ignited, causing a major fire at the Engels airbase. And a lot of people are kind of wondering, or at least kind of mulling around the issue, is a nuclear explosion risk a possibility? And once again, I do want to put this out there. This fire has been going on for 10 hours at this point, and may have been put out by this point. We are not entirely sure. So it does appear that the chances of any kind of a nuclear detonation, even as an entertained idea, are incredibly low. But beyond that, it looks like a decent amount of people are saying that the fire can't really cause any nuclear issues. Some are saying that the fire could threaten the nuclear weapons stored in the hardened shelter. Others are saying that they need more info, and others are unsure and undecided. But Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well? It's not every day that we've been able to say here on the channel that there's a fire at a nuclear storage depot.
So yeah, it certainly is a bit unusual, but is the risk real? Is there a real threat of a nuclear style explosion happening here because they get down to the storage and start hitting these nukes? So it looks like 43% said no, the fire cannot cause a nuke issue, while 24% said I need more info first, and 23% said yes, the fire could threaten the nukes. And I would say that based on what we know about the hardened shelters, they are pretty well secured, and the fire probably would not affect nuclear weapons inside. But at the same time, though, that's assuming the Russians are maintaining the facility properly, and it's also assuming that they're once again building these things to exacting standards that actually protect them from fires. I would assume that even if it is Russia, which we do know they do not adhere to standards very well, that they probably do take precautions into effect when it comes to nuclear weapons. So I would assume that it probably can't cause a nuke issue. If it could, it would probably be a very minuscule chance of it. So I think we're probably in the clear, but the fact the fire started that close to a nuclear storage is certainly concerning, even if it is protected, because of course the area that it's in could be on fire right now. We're really not sure. So very, very disturbing to hear, but I don't think there's a real chance of an explosion. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to strongly be with a 43% and say that there is a 99% chance that there would not be any kind of a nuclear incident or detonation that results from this fire for a myriad of reasons. For one, it appears that the fire is away from the actual storage facility. Two, nuclear weapons actually do not detonate from increased heat. That is something of a bit of a myth that some people have put around. Now, I will say this, conventional explosives actually will detonate from increased heat. If you throw a conventional bomb into a blazing fire, it will actually explode eventually, because the conventional explosives inside of that bomb actually are detonated because of an increased form of heat, much like any kind of normal gunpowder or any other kind of powder propellant or explosive powder propellant. Those are largely started by a catalyst of heat. But with a nuclear weapon, it's impossible to actually detonate one from heat alone, because you have to be able to have some sort of a nuclear catalyst that is fired into the fissile material to actually create nuclear fission and create that explosion. The fact of the matter is that no matter how hot any of those nuclear weapons got, there is no way for the catalyst to be fired under those conditions to start off that fissile material and its reaction into creating nuclear explosion under these kinds of instances. So even if the hardened shelter's doors were wide open and that fire was directly onto that hardened shelter and burning into it and onto those nuclear bombs or warheads, there is no way, at least normally under any kind of normal circumstance, that those nuclear warheads could explode. So at least for now, there's a wildly high 99% chance that there will be no nuclear incident that occurs at this nuclear storage facility because of those facts. But still,
Now, hypothetically speaking, let's say the fire, let's say hypothetically, got right underneath a nuclear weapon in storage. If it were to stay on that nuclear weapon long enough and the heat got hot enough, maybe not an explosion could occur, but it could be possible that maybe the missile melts down or burns down and the nuclear material somehow is released. Is that even possible?
And it's kind of possible, not really. Like if the nuclear material somehow spilled out, let's say the fissile material spilled out of the bomb, it would just sit on the floor. Like it wouldn't really do much of anything. It would have to somehow be wafted out and carried away with the fire, or the fire smoke, which would be quite difficult because this fissile material is somewhat dense. And usually the only way for that fissile material to get into any kind of a debris cloud in a significant enough way or form is a direct ground burst of a nuclear weapon, which creates enough force and heat in that particular instance that no matter how dense or heavy that fissile material is, it's actually lifted into the stratosphere and then carried off with the winds over a large distance, and that creates fallout. So even still, if that happened, which would still be highly unlikely, the chances of any kind of radiological damage outside of the storage facility would be quite minimal.
Interesting. That's good to know, at least, because I was wondering. And also, by the way, I don't think we know exactly how many nuclear weapons are allegedly being stored at this specific location. We're told it's a nuclear storage facility, but once again, the Russians could have moved those around, so we're not sure how many are here. But it's good to hear that at least if a fire did reach it or got into the facility, into the hardened shelter, that generally speaking, it sounds like we would be okay if the Russians are following procedures good enough.
Now, if y'all want to know how durable, and of course this is not speaking to the quality of Russian and Soviet nuclear weapons, but if you want to know how durable nuclear warheads and weaponry is in general, if I remember correctly, there was a incident at a U.S. nuclear silo during the 80s. It was largely brushed under the rug and no one brought it up, but there was an incident in a nuclear silo here in America where a guy dropped a wrench while he was working on one of the ICBMs in the silo. The wrench actually cut open a gash in the side of the missile because a panel had been removed, and a load of the fuel poured out into the silo. They evacuated because of the smell of fuel and the clear open puddle of it forming at the bottom of the silo, and then they tried to figure out what to do. The only thing that they figured out they could do was to go in there and try and somehow seal off the rocket and then start venting the fuel, but a single spark could set the whole thing up because of the gas that had built up in the silo. Fast forward a little bit, they screwed up. The whole entire silo went up in a giant fireball, pretty much an explosion, and it lifted the actual the I guess you could say payload carrier of the missile out of the silo and flung it, I think, a couple of dozen yards away. I think it was actually a couple of 100 yards away from the silo with all the warheads in it still, and it did not go off. They recovered the warheads, and then they eventually went and I think they shut down that silo. Let me go see U.S. Nuclear. Let's see, U.S. ICBM silo explosion. Let me see, because there was an incident that did happen. The 1980 Damascus Titan missile explosion. That was it right there. In 1980, I was about to say it was in Mississippi, but it actually was in Arkansas. And that was the specific spot, silo 374-7, that had the explosion incident. That was the Titan II that was in the silo, not the specific one that was involved in that explosion, but that is pretty much the identical missile and silo that was involved in the incident. And there we have it. I pretty much recounted this almost accurately. I don't know how I remembered this, but there was a hypergolic fuel explosion, and let's see, the 742-ton door silo was ejected, and the second stage and warhead were also ejected. The warhead landed about 100 feet from the complex's entry gate, and its safety features prevented any loss of radioactive material or a nuclear detonation. So once again, proving that even in the event of an explosion so strong that it could lift and remove a 740-ton silo door from the silo, and not only that, eject the second stage and warhead directly out of the silo as a result of the singular explosion, there was no nuclear detonation or leakage of any kind of fissile material from the warhead. So if Soviet weaponry or Russian weaponry was even close to the kind of standards that we maintain American nuclear weapons at, the chances of a nuclear explosion happening from a fire like this is highly unlikely. Still incredibly concerning.
I wonder if it really is, though, because, we build a ton of safety features into all of our weaponry here in the United States. The Russians, not so much. Like, I'm sure they have some safety features. And also, I would assume that maintaining the weapon properly probably determines whether or not the safety features work properly in the event of an accident. So I'm not trying to say it's likely that something's going to happen, but I wonder how well the Russians were maintaining it if there were any type of nuclear weapons being actually stored in that silo.
I wonder. I generally do know that Soviet nuclear weapons are, well, really all nuclear weapons work off of a basic principle that there are usually several safeties installed into them. I believe all Soviet models had several safeties as well, and redundant safeties on top of that. And also, there generally is, at least as far as I understand from my limited knowledge of nuclear weaponry, there has to be a catalyst fired into the fissile material, pretty much like a gun firing a bullet into it, for it to actually create nuclear fission and then create a nuclear explosion. Unless if those circumstances are met, it is pretty much impossible to create any kind of a nuclear explosion. Even if you had a 1,000 degree fire burning on the ass of that nuclear warhead, it would still not explode.
Interesting. Well, that's good to know at least, because of course that would be terrible if they'd exploded one of those for everybody. So thankfully, it sounds like we're good.
Yeah, it sounds like we're good. Still, I gotta say, while we are good, that is wildly concerning to hear that there is a fire at a nuclear weapons depot storage facility. I think everyone can kind of agree that seems to be a wildly serious safety concern. And the other thing is that we don't know what caused it, because a lot of people would like to say quite easily that it had to have been a Ukrainian attack, but there were no Ukrainian attacks recorded at Engels Air Base or the Saratov region at all over the past 24 hours, meaning that this fire was caused because of some sort of mismanagement or accident at the storage facility. So a little bit concerning to think that a whole bunch of Three Stooges and Muppets are running the nuclear storage depot at Engels, but nevertheless, that's the information that we have right now on that. We'll be trying to get more information as time goes by about the specific location of that fire at that facility and what may have resulted as far as preliminary damage reports at that nuclear storage depot, but for now, this is all of the information that we have and we're working on right now for this stream. But there is even an even larger thing that happened today, crazily enough, inside of China. Because many people, you know what? Let me get you all a little bit of a minimal knowledge right now on how the Chinese military works on a administrative level. So let me go pull this up for y'all. The Central Military Commission. So the Central Military Commission is a pretty high on up there thing. Some of y'all may have heard in the past that the leader of China is called the president of China, or he can be called the chairman, and that's actually an interchangeable term, kind of like how the president and commander-in-chief are interchangeable terms here in America. The Central Military Commission is the highest military leadership body of the Chinese Communist Party. It is their version of the chief of staff, or something else very similar to that, that would advise or largely receive the commands of the president and then disseminate that through the armed forces. It is the head of the People's Liberation Army and the People's Armed Police. The People's Armed Police is a direct armed wing of the People's Liberation Army, but largely is operated semi-autonomously, almost as a form of the National Guard. And they also are responsible, by the way, as well, for the conducting of law and order in the pretty much the execution of law and order inside the People's Republic of China, both figuratively and literally, because they're also the ones that conduct the executions. But nevertheless, this is the most important as far as military body in administration that exists in the People's Republic of China. And this is actually where Xi Jinping and Mao Zedong and a whole bunch of other Chinese premiers have gotten that title, the chairman, because the chairman of the Central Military Commission fills the exact same role in China that the commander-in-chief of U.S. Armed Forces fills here in America. They are the highest civilian, they are the highest ranking person, usually a civilian, in the People's Liberation Army's chain of command. And that is where the chairman of China comes from, or largely the chairman's statement is from the title that the president of China holds under the Central Military Commission's leadership. This is something that is a little bit important, by the way, because the Central Military Commission, not only through Xi Jinping, but through its top officials and generals, are the ones that actually run the People's Liberation Army, which is the armed military of China, on a daily basis. And we have seen that now Xi Jinping's purges inside of the People's Liberation Army have reached the absolute highest echelons, as news has come out today that the Central Military Committee Vice Chairman He Weidong was arrested somewhere in between now and the last several weeks I guess you could say that he didn't see it coming, but it certainly was something that happened today. But according to the information that we have, Dmitry consulted with 5 people familiar with the situation, including current and former U.S. officials. So I believe the authoritativeness of the reporting, Lyle Morse corroborating the claim made by Dmitry that He Weidong was arrested, and it appears that now we are seeing. That's this, interestingly enough, I'm not going to lie, I looked down and I almost said George Takei, but it appears that one of the highest officials of the Central Military Commission have now been arrested. It's a very interesting thing to see because this is the vice chairman. There's only one person above him, and that's Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping is the chairman. He's the vice chairman. Let me go see if I can get y'all a Central Military Commission chart. So that way I can, let me go put in the Central Military Commission chart. Hopefully I can find the one that the Army has on it, because they have a pretty good one. So...
Also, by the way, just for clarification real quick, to my knowledge, this guy was the second highest ranking army official in China, and also he served in some high level capacity in the Chinese Communist Party, right?
Well, actually, as far as it really goes, he was the highest ranking guy, because there's only one guy above him, and that's Xi Jinping. So as far as the military goes, he was the highest guy. Xi Jinping technically holds the highest rank, but he's the civilian leader of the armed forces. As far as the military ranking system goes, he was actually the highest guy.
Interesting. So in China, I've never been clear on this, by the way. Obviously, the PLA is the People's Liberation Army, which is the army of China. So he was the highest guy in theory under Xi Jinping in the military. So they consider Xi Jinping like the essential commander-in-chief of the PLA. Is that correct?
Yes, that's exactly how it works. Xi Jinping is the commander-in-chief of the People's Liberation. Well, let's put it in the American wordage. Xi Jinping is the commander-in-chief of the Chinese Department of Defense. And this guy right here, he was their version of the, let's see here. He's pretty much their version of the chief of staff for the large part, if we want to put it that way. So that's what
So he's like the chief of staff. So that's his army designation, his army role. But also at the same time, they also serve in the Communist Party in a different retrospect, correct?
Let me go check, because I actually didn't check on this guy's position in the CCP.
Because the way I understand it, this guy is not only the military leader, the second highest in command under Xi, but he's also a very, very high-ranking Communist Party official as well, which is kind of strange because usually militaries do not become political like that. But apparently in China, they have a huge political aspect of their military, which involves them in the Communist Party.
So I can't really get easily what position he filled within the CCP, but he was a member of the 20th Politburo of the Chinese Communist Party from March 2023 onwards. So he was a Politburo committee member. So that's on up there as far as the Chinese the communist political structure works. He was a Politburo member, which is a little bit on up there from, it's way up there actually from your average Communist Party member. He was actually the one that would be involved in the plenums of the People's Congresses that happen yearly. So he was on up there because I think there's only about 1,000 people in China that are a part of those Politburo committees, or really the plenums. So this guy was on up there in many respects. But not only that, this is actually a little bit of a graph here. This one was published by the Department of Defense of the U.S. Army that actually, the U.S. Army, a part of the Department of Defense, that explains how the system is structured inside of China, at least for how the military works. The Central Military Commission, the CMC, is the nucleus of everything, at least administratively, in the People's Liberation Army. And there are several different members of the Central Military Commission, but the most important people in the CMC is the chairman and the vice chairman, meaning that the most important people in the CMC was Xi Jinping and He Weidong, who is the guy we're talking about right now, who just got arrested. So right now, Xi Jinping The only other guy above this dude in the entire maintenance and administration of the Chinese military just had him arrested. So it appears that the purge has truly reached the highest level of the military. Nobody is safe because if they're attacking the vice chairman, which is literally the only person below Xi Jinping, and arresting him, that means that anyone in the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Liberation Army is at significant threat of being purged by Xi Jinping because of their supposed or believed disloyalty to the party. As a matter of fact, you can actually see the members of the Central Military Commission right there, and there he is, He Wang-dong, right there, a CMC vice chairman.
Yeah, I was trying to see here. It looks like China is citing corruption as the reason why they got rid of him, and also a lack of loyalty. So that's part of it. So I'm beginning to wonder if this guy was maybe privately speaking out against invading Taiwan, because of course that's on the top of the agenda right now for the Chinese military. So I'm not seeing anything publicly that he basically spoke against a Taiwan invasion. But maybe he was, because that's a pretty abrupt removal of one of the highest people in the military and also the Communist Party in China. So that's a pretty big one right there. There must be some disconnect with the Taiwan issue.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, and also just for a little bit of a learning lesson for everyone on like, if y'all want to know how does the Chinese military actually work on an administrative level, let me go show y'all the Chinese military districts, because this is actually kind of important. So these are the theater commands, which are the areas of, well, the territories that China is broken up into for military control. So there are 5 of them, and each one of them has a special purpose and a special mission behind them. The Central Theater Command holds Beijing within its borders, and the Central Military Command is quite literally just the cream of the crop. It's really where the best of China's units are held. They're based inside of the Central Theater Command, so that way if a war breaks out, they can be moved into any given theater command wherever they're needed. So instead of putting your best units in one theater command, and then if a war breaks out, say, in the Northern Theater Command, you're not having to disengage them from what would be supposedly a frontline theater command. They're not in it. So your most elite units are in the Central Theater Command, and they just go wherever you need them to go. So it's kind of like your reserve forces, and they're the cream of the crop. The Eastern Theater Command's entire mission is dealing with Taiwan and eventually invading them. The Southern Theater Command's entire mission is the South China Sea, and eventually trying to get China's complete and unrestricted control over the South China Sea a reality. The Western Theater Command generally deals with internal dissent, so issues inside of Tibet and also Western China that have to deal with a group of people who are called the Uyghurs, who are a Islamic group of people who ethnically and culturally have survived in the area for thousands of years for the large part. They largely deal with domestic issues, but they also deal with the border skirmishes between Pakistan and India for the People's Republic of China. The Northern Theater Command largely deals with supporting the Democratic People's Republic of Korea in the advent of a major conflict with the United States of America or South Korea, and they also deal with China's more so prosecution of their attempts to get complete control of the Yellow Sea and also some islands in the island chain heading from Taiwan and up into Japan, which Japan currently controls right now. They also deal with border security with the Russian Federation, which historically was a major ordeal, and they also continue to have some minor relationships with Mongolia, which is largely considered to be a neutral country by China. This is what's most interesting about this, though. This is why I had to explain this. In America, the forces of the U.S. Army fall under whose command, Matthew? Who in the world commands the U.S. Army's forces? Is it the Army or is it someone else?
That would be the Army, but the U.S. president is technically the commander-in-chief of it.
So that's what you would think, right? In China, it works totally different. The Army isn't under the command of the Army. The Air Force isn't under the command of the Air Force. They are all under the command of a theater command. So the Navy, well, the headquarters of the Navy, the Army, the Rocket Forces, and the Air Force in China are really only ceremonial and administrative and really don't count for anything. It's actually the theater commanders or the that actually hold all of the authority and power in China. So the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the Rocket Forces, and also the Special support forces, which are their whole other thing, they are all run by the theater commanders based out of their theater command headquarters. With the Eastern Theater Command, it actually is in Nanjing, which used to be called Nanking. A lot of y'all would know that because of World War II. But each one has their own specific headquarters and their own specific missions, but it's an incredibly interesting way that they run. And also, China has another thing, which you can see right here, doesn't actually fall under the command of the theater commanders, but actually falls under the command of the Central Military Commission directly, which is the Strategic Support Force. That's actually something that we have not talked about before. And let me go show you all that. The Strategic Support Forces. And let's see, it's People's Liberation Army. Here we go. This is the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force. Interestingly enough, China has done something that really not a lot of other countries have done before, which is to take the logistical force of the entire military, as well as their cyberspace forces and others, and form it into one specific conglomeration. And that's the PLA SSF. They're under the command not of a theater commander like every other branch. They're under the command of the CMC directly. So the only people that they report to is the CMC. The CMC issues their orders, and they follow. They don't have to follow the orders of any theater commander, but the direct orders pretty much of the chairman of the CMC and the vice chairman, and that's it. So it's an incredibly.
That seems like a super complicated and complex system, by the way, compared to what we have. That seems much more complicated. So that's fascinating, though. I didn't know that Xi. So essentially, Xi Jinping holds three different positions. He's the leader of the Chinese Communist Party, or I think they call it the general secretary. He's also the president of the People's Republic of China. So that's his second position. And also third, he's also the chairman of the CMC that you're referring to, which is the Central Military Commission. So he's the commander-in-chief, he's the president, and he's the leader of the party. So that's actually quite fascinating. He has like three different roles like that.
It is a very interesting thing, actually. And you know something else that's interesting, Matty, about the Strategic Support Force is that they are the branch that actually conducts cyber warfare. So whenever you hear of, say, like a Chinese cyber attack, it's being conducted by the Strategic Support Force. And what is really interesting about that, Matthew, is notice that they do not fall under the command of a theater commander or a theater command. They fall under the direct authority of Xi Jinping and his vice chairman, which means that whenever a cyber attack is being conducted, that was always approved at the absolute highest levels of the People's Liberation Army's command structure.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That gives a lot more context, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it really does. But that's how the Chinese military works, or at least the most broadest stroke of how it works that I could give. But it is actually incredibly complicated. I didn't even cover, Matthew, just to add one more thing, because you're saying it's complicated. I didn't even add this one more thing to it, which is even more complicated. I totally forgot to tell you that for every colonel in the middle, so let's go with this. Let's say you're a battalion commander of a Chinese battalion in a medium brigade. Let's say that you're that guy, and you want to issue an order. Guess what? There's a guy with equal rank in that unit who is a political officer, and he gets to override your commands if he thinks that they do not fall under the political ambitions of the Chinese Communist Party. So then that complicates things even farther. But that is a whole other rabbit hole really for a totally different time, because that is an insane rabbit hole to talk about. But beyond that, a lot of people have been talking about this purge, which is a significant one. It's the largest one we've ever seen. It's the largest one we ever will see, because there's literally no way you can arrest anyone more important than the vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. And a lot of people have been talking about this and wondering if China will face civil war, because the fact that they are now purging the highest ranking military official in the People's Liberation Army, because there literally isn't a higher ranking guy than that rather than Xi Jinping, a lot of people are wondering how destabilized China is and how little control does Xi Jinping really have over the PLA, considering that the cracks are forming all the way up to the literal top. And it appears that a lot of people are mixed on this. Some people are saying that China is certainly heading for civil unrest. Others are saying that Xi has it clearly under control at this point, considering that the purge is reaching literally every level of the PLA. And some others are saying that it depends and they're unsure. But Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right. So it looks like 38% said no, Xi has the purge under control and there will be no civil war or civil unrest inside of China, while 35% said yes, China is headed for civil unrest, and 16% said it really depends on all the details. And considering the fact that this second highest ranking official was not just dismissed, he was also allegedly arrested for corruption, that indicates indeed a purge. That is basically what Russia does as well, but China has a much more complicated system. So they've gone about it in a little bit of a different way, but generally speaking, they're trying to get rid of political opponents that they probably view as being opposition to Xi Jinping's ultimate authority. So I would say that generally speaking, there's no evidence this is going to get out of hand right now, resulting in a civil war. And so far, like the saying goes in China, the party does command the gun still, and is still commanding it right now. So nothing has really changed. I think Xi does have the purge under control, and it's probably all being calculated as we speak. I don't think things are as chaotic as they are in Russia. I think China has things a little bit more under control on that front, but I would be curious to find out what was the final straw that resulted in that guy getting arrested, because me personally, I don't believe for a second it was corruption. I think it was probably something involving the Taiwan invasion that could be coming up very soon. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that I'm not entirely sure what he did to cross the line. Like you're saying, it's a mystery, and they'll keep it a mystery forever until China collapses, which hopefully will happen in a couple of decades. But still, I would have to say that it's a bit of a mix. It's kind of a little bit hard to tell right now, because considering that he did just arrest the vice chairman, that might be putting a lot of people in fear, considering that it shows that no one's out of reach of Xi Jinping and his purge. That might put enough people in fear that there is not going to be the outbreak of civil unrest. But at the same time, it's also showing that the cracks have literally formed throughout the entire PLA from top to bottom. There isn't an upper echelon of the Chinese military, of its top brass, that are loyal to Xi Jinping. Apparently, none of them are loyal to them, literally all the way from the vice chairman down, which is everyone. So that may be showing that the PLA is so distrustful and unhappy with Xi Jinping's actions and motives for running the People's Republic of China, that there may be an attempt at a military coup, which at least historically has never happened before in communist Chinese history. There has not been a military coup ever against a president or a general secretary of the Chinese Communist Party or the People's Republic of China. So that would be a first in history if that was to occur. But at the same time, we have never seen military purges happening at this level, because the only other person who had this kind of aura about them, at least in communist Chinese history, would have been Mao Zedong. And Mao Zedong was able to corral the great respect and admiration of his generals, and also instill fear into them to the point that he really didn't have to conduct a great deal of severe purges throughout most of his reign. The only time that we ever saw that Xi Jinping actually went into, I guess you could say, a falling out was during the time of right after the Great Leap Forward, and also during the time of some major civil unrest inside of China, which we won't really say the exact name of, but it happened in the early 80s. We then saw that Mao Zedong was largely kind of cast out of the central element, or the Politburo of the Chinese Communist Party, but was still revered, but he had no authority or power in China beyond that point, and even up until his death. So with that in mind, maybe a similar thing could happen to Xi, but even still, the political kind of atmosphere that existed for Mao to just slowly be kind of removed from actually running the country doesn't exist now. Xi has an iron grip on the CCP, but has almost absolutely no control right now over the PLA. So I really don't know how that would work, because Mao was able to foster a strong belief and trust in him through the PLA, but not really through the CCP. Now it's the complete inverse. Xi doesn't have the belief or the trust of the army, or really the military as a whole, but he has the complete, undeniable belief and trust of the CCP. So I don't really know how that will work this time, because unlike the moment where Mao was largely removed from any kind of control of China through largely political intrigue, this time the only people who could remove them largely operate through the force of arms in the PLA. So I don't know. Maybe they're on the path to civil unrest, but once again, this is a historically unheard of time in communist China. We've never seen anything like this happen before, and we haven't seen this kind of tumult going on in between the chairman and the PLA, so I would have absolutely no idea what will be happening here. But if I had to take a best shot, go ahead.
Yeah, go right ahead. I thought you were finished up.
If I had to take a good shot, they might be heading for civil unrest. But what were you about to say, Matthew?
I was about to say, if I had to speculate as to the reason why this second in command was removed, it could be because once again, we've been hearing rumors that Xi is trying to speed up the invasion of Taiwan amidst this tariff war that's currently taking place between the United States and China. Because once again, like we've been saying for weeks now, or actually over a week, we've been saying that now that the tariff war has started, it's removed all economic incentive for China to withhold an invasion of Taiwan. So there's nothing restraining them anymore. So Xi might want to go ahead and launch that as a way to sort of lever his way into invading Taiwan and actually being able to take it amidst this tariff war, because there's no real economic damage that could take place in any larger extent than it's already been by invading. So that could be it. And it could be that this second in command was saying that we're not really quite ready for that Taiwan invasion just yet. We still have more preparations to go. And simply by saying that, by suggesting they weren't ready, that could have been enough to get rid of him in the eyes of Xi Jinping, because that would have been dissent in his view. And that could be why he was gone ahead and arrested now and taken out of that position. It could be that minor that he simply said they weren't ready is the reason why they took him out.
It could have been, or it could have been a fact that he was a part of pretty much the culture war that's going on in between the PLA and Xi Jinping, where they're strict traditionalist Maoist believers, and he's trying to push forward a new communist ideology, and the idea of a slightly limited free market in China is conflicting with the PLA's mindset so badly that even this guy was against Xi Jinping, and he was removed for that. It could be mundane or it could be extreme, but it's really hard to tell right now because we have no information beyond the fact that he's been arrested, and they haven't even said what he was really arrested for beyond an anti-corruption campaign, and that could be anything. That's really a be-all catch-all for the large part of most dictatorships. But with that, it is time for us to move on from the People's Republic of China and the fun going on in Beijing today. And oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, while he's being arrested, they're still building like that mega military facility out here in the middle of nowhere outside of Beijing, which is still under construction right now. So sadly, he will
Also,
not
never get to enjoy that, sadly.
Yeah, he'll never be around to get to see the grand opening of that, man. He'll just be, in a prison somewhere or executed, one way or another. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that. That's something I forgot to completely mention, is that in China, in their constitution, unlike us in the United States, where we never really laid out exactly what the death penalty would look like, in China, in their constitution, they actually laid out exactly how you were to be executed. You have two choices: death by shooting or injection. That's it. You don't get any other options. There is no, there was no, like, just an expedient death or anything like that. No, it was just shooting or injection. You can pick from those. And usually you don't get to pick because the injections aren't available. So the stories go that in most places, especially in the countryside, they just go, oh, you're guilty, because there isn't really a trial. They just claim you're guilty, you're guilty. You're guilty and you're to be executed. They just drive them out to a ditch near a rice paddy and they just shoot them and then they drive off. And that's it.
Well, that's interesting right there. And you say they don't get the injection because it's out of stock?
Usually it's out of stock. Usually it's only in stock in the big cities, and even then, it's kind of like, you don't really get a choice, because if they have the option, they're going to execute you by lethal injection. If they don't have the option, they're just going to shoot you. So you really still don't get the choice.
I would say, yeah, but between the two, like, I'm not sure what they're injecting, by the way. I'm not very clear on that. If they're trying to inject economic prosperity, I see why they're out of stock. There's not a lot of that right now inside of China for various reasons. So they might be out of that injection, different various forms of it. But that's crazy, though. They just drive them out to the rice paddy and take care of them out there. You would think it would be something that they would want to maybe televise, because that's usually the way these type regimes want to operate. But they just do it apparently secretly. So that's kind of fascinating.
They used to back all the way up until 2007. They'd actually would televise the executions, and they'd also do them in public stadiums like soccer arenas, or as everyone else in the world would call it, a football arena. They would hold the executions there. They actually would hold the trials and the executions at the same time, at the same day, all on television. So they just bring up a whole bunch of people, like 10 people shackled together in front of the party judge. The party judge would say, you have been found guilty of crimes to the state. We sentence you to execution by shooting. They would then walk them across the football stadium as like thousands watched in the stadium, booing these people, and demanding that they be shot. They would bring them over to the other side of the stadium, and a party officer with a pistol in his hand would go down the line and, cap them with a hood over their head. And then they drag off the bodies and then bring in the next round of people and then sentence them to be put to death as well because they were guilty. And they would do that because in China, this is the supposed mindset, but we all know what's really going on there. In China, the supposed idea behind it was that it would show the public that the party is following through with carrying out law and order and making sure that the public is protected from these evil, wicked people and these capitalist conspiracies and such things. But the reality of it is that they were showing the executions publicly because they wanted to put everyone in fear that the party could just one day execute you for some sort of crimes that you supposedly did or didn't conduct. They stopped doing those in 2007 because in 2008 they were going to hold the Olympics. And it was going to be a bad look if they just continued to shoot people in a football field every single week on national television in the middle of the Olympics. So they stopped broadcasting those, and they largely stopped executing people in the middle of a football pitch. And so now they moved on to just shooting them, in some back ditch near a rice paddy. Or if you're in the city, you get shot in a little basement at the bottom of the party headquarters, or you get injected inside of a mobile execution van. But that's how the death penalty.
Dear, the mobile execution van. Honestly, those are horrifying. Like those are just like freaking nightmare fuel. Those mobile execution vans. That's tough.
Have you seen one?
Yeah, I've seen them.
Let me see if I can show you all the execution vans for those of y'all who may have not seen one before. Here we are. Let's see, the execution van. That's it right there.
Oh dear, and it's not even good looking either. Like it's a Ford Transit. This is awful. I would hate to know I was going out in a Ford Transit.
Yeah, so there's a condemned right there being brought into the back. And they bring him back there. They inject him with 3 different injections. One, I think, is to render him unconscious. I think the other one is, actually, I think one of them is to prep him for the injections. The other one renders him unconscious, and then the third injection stops his heart from beating and then causes critical organ failure and kills him. And the entire time that he's dying, by the way, in the back of this van, right near to the driver's area, there's a giant seal of the Chinese Communist Party looking down at you the entire time you're about to go unconscious. So the last thing you see is the seal of the party before they execute you. Pretty sick, honestly.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, so
also, by the way, someone mentioned it. They're probably harvesting organs. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it personally. It's like this is literally like a mobile like organ collection van right here in my view. I don't think there's any like actual evidence of it, but you got to know. They're surely not leaving these people on the side of the street. Like they're taking them on to some morgue or something later, aren't they?
I think they take him on to a morgue or something like that.
Yeah.
But
There's
what's
gotta be
even
something like that going on.
But what's even crazier, man, is that this is usually done so fast, you committing the crime and then being sentenced to death and then executed, that they don't even put you in prison. They just come and pick you up at your home, like for this stuff. Like, they just show up one day and they're like, yep, get in the back of the van, we're executing you today. Like, it's like, that is absolutely insane. Like, you don't even get put on death row and wait for the appeal process to go through, which could take decades. And then, if all of the appeals fail, then you're finally executed. Nope, it's just, you're guilty, you're going to be executed, get in the van. Like, it's that quick. Also,
that's pretty sick. And it also seems like if someone, just happened to have the van pull up that really didn't know they were on trial or had them charges for anything, they could just pull up and just take somebody in the van that wasn't even accused yet and just take care of them, and nobody would even know where they went.
Well, it actually has been said, this is something that hasn't been confirmed, but I know it has to have happened, that sometimes they get the wrong address and they pull out an innocent guy from their apartment, put him into the back of the van and execute him, and they had the wrong address the whole time. Kind of like how search warrants in America are sometimes executed, and they'll break into a house because they have a warrant, and then it was the wrong address, and it was the house across the street. Apparently that has happened a couple of times in China, at least according to the Chinese netizens that have been talking about it. Some people have been executed wrongfully, and they weren't even the ones who were supposedly guilty of a crime.
Yeah, I would honestly believe it. I hadn't seen any evidence of that either, but I wouldn't believe it because you got to imagine a government which operates on oppressing the people like China, like a communist government does, having a van like that running around executing people. That would be a super easy way just to pull up to someone's house that's been like saying things they shouldn't be saying about the Communist Party and simply take them out without anybody ever knowing where the person went, because they take the person with them after they've executed them to some like morgue location or something like that, I would assume. So nobody even knows where they went. They just went missing, and that's just the end of it.
Yeah, it's a wild thing, really, when you think about it. But anyways, enough of the morbid details. I hope that kind of reminds y'all, though, a little bit of why y'all are lucky to live in Western countries like we do. And also, if you think this is all made up, oh no. The Chinese actually put out propaganda videos from the Chinese Communist Party to the public, telling them the horrors of these executions, just as I have told you all, to scare them into complying with the law. Otherwise, they could be put in the back of that van, and that will happen to them. So if you think that that's not even true, no, they're very proud of it in China, and they like to broadcast that to their citizenry and let them know what is actually facing them if they want to violate the law or violate the will of the party. But moving on from that, and on into the area of the Middle East and also largely Ukraine here in a moment. I want to make sure that we get a couple of questions, though, so that way we can get maybe some comedic relief, or at least a little chit-chat segment after such a heavy topic. Such a deathly heavy topic, that is. And it appears really quickly, well, actually, we'll leave that poll cooking for now. We'll get through the question segment and then talk about it here in a little bit. But Matthew, what do we got for some questions?
All right, so our first super chat of the night is a very generous $100 donation from none other than BC Skyman, the longtime channel legend, a pillar of the LSA community. And thank you very much, BC Skyman, for that massive support. And once again, continuing to support the channel and help keep it running. And we do appreciate BC very much, and everyone else who donates to the channel as well. And BC said, we appreciate the enforcers for their unwavering efforts of keeping us informed of the latest news. And take one from the chat in Slava Ukraine.
I gotta thank you for the massive support, BC Scammon, and I gotta thank you massively for that huge support and appreciating our efforts in getting the news out. We didn't hear of a single person report on that story today at Saratov and Engels, but we reported on it, and we were happy that we were able to. And we're happy to know that a lot of people appreciated hearing that story, although the chance of anything significant happening from it is low. It's still a concerning and crazy story to hear. You don't hear that kind of a thing often. But I do thank you massively for being an old guard and a channel legend and a pillar of this community, a pillar of the LSA, of the Lee Spring Army and the Enforcer channel, and we will make sure to take one from the chat as we try and keep you all informed with the most news and the most well-researched news that we possibly can. But Matthew, what do we got from the chat in honor of the absolute channel legend and old guard, BC Skyman?
All right, so that live chat goes to David Bailey, who says, do you think China and Russia and Iran has something up their sleeves behind closed doors as far as the timing of events are going forward?
I would have to say most likely not. They're probably working on completely different time schedules for each other and themselves, but they're all just happening to come together at the same time, because things like this have happened before. World War II is a great example. I mean, a very commonly known example and a great one. Japan had imperial ambitions of its own design, and Germany had imperial, and well, not really imperial, well, really imperial when you think about it, imperial ambitions of their own design as well. And it just happened to be coincidence that they did that at the same time. Because, crazily enough, throughout most of World War II, because historically everyone looks at them as the Axis. Italy, which doesn't really count, but really Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan, everyone looks at them as almost working in cahoots. But crazily enough, throughout most of the war, they hardly had any dealings with each other. They were only friends in spirit, and friends by a little charter that they made with each other, because, you know, the enemies of our enemies are our friends kind of a deal. So they were technically allied, but not really, because they hardly gave any support to each other, and hardly even really worked in tandem with each other at all either. But nevertheless, because of how similarly they were conducting their same expansionist actions in different areas of the world, it looked like they were all working in cahoots and had some sort of a grand plan to destroy America and also destroy our allies around the world. But that just wasn't the case, and especially after the dust settled and decades have passed, it's become clear, according to multiple government writings and entries by the top officials of Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan, they really weren't even knowing what the other was doing at all through most of the war. They were more so focused on just what they were doing, and I think that's what's happening now. Because if you look at what Russia, Iran, and China are doing, it's all not something new. It's all continuations of plans or ideas that they've had in the works for decades. It's just that they're all reaching their head at the exact same time by pure coincidence. Iran has hated Israel and America since the Islamic Republic of Iran first formed in 1979 and took about, several dozen hostages at the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. They have hated the United States and Israel for that entire time. And what they're doing right now in the Middle East is just an extenuation of that same deep-seated hatred and doctrine that they've had ever since 1979. What the Russian Federation is doing right now has been deep-seated in Putin's mind since he took power in the year 2000. 25 years later, it's finally reached a head, and we're seeing that the major war in Ukraine is still going on 3 years strong, but he's still pushing the same idea and plan that he's had for 25 years. And what China is doing crazily enough, is actually the oldest of them all. They have been trying to forcefully invade and reunify the Republic of China with the mainland for 70 years. They've been trying to do that since 1949 at the end of the Chinese Civil War. It's been going on forever. I mean, you can pull up Taiwan Strait crises. And here we go. Look at this. Taiwan Strait Crisis, 1996, 1958, 2024, 2023, 2022. There is an endless list of these. And let me see if I can find y'all. And of course, there was another one here in 1954. This is the first one of its kind ever. This has been going on for 70 years. They've been trying to force the reunification of the island of Taiwan with China for literally since 1949. It's been going on forever. It's actually the oldest of them all. So it's not really that they're all working together to just try and sow chaos around the world. These are deep-seated historical things that they've been working on for decades, individually, on their own, completely detached from others. And it just happens to be so that they're all starting to reach their head at the exact same time. It's pretty much like that perfect storm. Like the weather in America, they don't know that another storm, a thunderstorm in Oklahoma and another thunderstorm in Louisiana are going to meet together at the same place and create a low pressure weather feature that creates a super tornado and creates an EF5. Those storms don't know that. They're just on their tracks doing their thing, and they happen to come up together at the same time, same place, and create the strongest tornado ever seen. It's the same thing with that in a world, in foreign policy right now with what we're seeing. It's just that all of these storms are converging at the same time in the same place to create a super tornado of a sort. And so that's what's really going on, at least in my opinion. But I do thank you for the massive support, BC Skyman, and sponsoring it live chat. I hope that does address that incredibly well. And with that, it's time for us to move on into the second question of this segment.
All right, and this one goes to David Dornblaser, who puts in also a very generous $100 donation as well. And thank you very much, David, for that massive support once again. And I do not see a comment attached, so sadly nothing to address. But I do like the profile pic. He has a profile pic of it. Looks like the Ukraine flag with Zelensky standing in the front of it. I can't see the text on it though, but it looks pretty cool. And thank you very much, David, for that support and helping to keep the channel running. And Enforcer, what say you?
He's got a picture of Zelensky standing in front of the Ukrainian flag, because much like the Ukrainian flag, Zelensky's going to be Putin blue and yellow. But beyond that, I got to thank you so much for the support, the massive support, David Dornblaser. You didn't attach a comment, but we are greatly appreciative and massively thankful for your support and helping this channel to keep on running. Even in the middle of tax season, people are massively supporting this channel, and we are absolutely amazed by that, because last year, this was what we called the dry season, because hardly anyone was super chatting, because, of course, everyone was sweating bullets over taxes, kind of like we are. But beyond that, I got to thank you massively so much once again for that. If it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this channel possible. We wouldn't have been able to keep it running for this entire time. And I've got to thank you just so much once again for throwing in such support and helping this thing to keep on rolling. So thank you so much once again. And with that in mind, it is time for us to move on to the last question of the segment. And then we're going to be moving on into the greater world at large outside of Russia and China, and move on into the Middle East and the actual Ukraine war on the ground. So what do we got, Matthew, for our last question of this segment?
All right, and this one's going to go to Tom S., who puts in a $75 donation. And thank you, Tom, as well, for that massive support and also helping to keep the channel rolling on along forward, just like Ukraine's doing in their war. But thank you very much, Tom. He said, still awesome, along with the LSA, and please take a chat.
And I thank you so much for the support. Now for this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to keep this thing running, Tom S. And I gotta say, thank you for saying that we're still awesome. We try to be. I don't know if we always are or not, but we try our best. And also, Tom S., I got to say that we saw something interesting today. Speaking of being awesome, I thought I'd do a little rabbit hole here. And Matthew, you know what I'm going to do the rabbit hole on. I'm not going to show the actual pictures, because I actually found out that the hood of your car was in it, and I don't want us to get doxxed on what kind of a car you have. So we're going to pull up something that is neat and really cool. As a matter of fact, it is the Norfolk Southern Railway's The Brick. I've never seen this thing before, but we actually saw it today. That is the Brick. It's a really neat little thing. This thing actually goes around with a passenger rail car attached to the back of it. That's the little rail car attached to it. And I did not know this, Matthew, but at the time, I thought that this thing was a locomotive. It actually doesn't have an engine in it.
Yeah, I didn't notice that earlier.
Yeah, look at that. Underneath, it has no fuel tank, and it also has no engine. This thing gets dragged around behind some other train. You can actually see it right there. There's the locomotive that actually pulls it around. And this thing goes around as these guys sit back here at this window, and there's a whole bunch of lasers and lights under this thing that shoot out onto the tracks below. And at super light speed, a massive supercomputer in that passenger rail car and that locomotive all sit there and tabulate data to figure out if the tracks are too worn out, and if they are, when to replace them or what to replace them with. It's actually pretty cool. I've never heard of this thing before. I've heard of the CSX railway inspection locomotives. CSX actually has a crazy cool one. Let me see if I can pull it up. Railway inspection locomotive. Let me see. You'll like this one, Matthew, honestly. You'll probably find this to be pretty neat. This thing. These are so weird. Look at that.
Now that right there, actually, I'll be honest with you, that's actually somewhat of a cool looking train. Actually, that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty weird though, man. Because it's like, what in the hell is that thing? But that's CSX's version. Norfolk Southern does it a little bit more classic style and has a actual passenger car that's been converted, and this weird looking brick thing. It's literally just called the brick. You can see it right there. It says the brick on the side, and they take that thing around and they inspect their rails. We went down to the Irondale yard and saw that thing sitting there. Never heard of this thing before, so I had to pull it up and research it a little bit, but I thought I'd share with all of y'all because it's a really neat little kind of a system, and it's an integral part of the operations of America's railways. So really rare and really unique find. But there's another picture of it right there. That thing's actually just wild, man. And also, the locomotive pulling it was, like, clean. Like, it was the cleanest we'd ever seen. Like, literally no dirt on it at all. But anyways, with that, we will make sure to get that live chat question in honor of Tom S. So what do we got, Matthew?
So this one goes to Jess Sackett, who says, how will the arrest of the Chinese general affect what is happening around Taiwan?
It probably won't really affect much, to be entirely honest. It will affect the internal politics of the People's Liberation Army, but as far as the Eastern Theater Command is concerned, they've been working on that same kind of a mindset or a metric for quite some time now, so they're not really going to be changing much on the invasion of Taiwan, because throughout the entire history of the Eastern Theater Command, their only objective is to figure out how to invade Taiwan and how to do it successfully. So as far as what is going on in the Central Military Commission, it really doesn't have a direct impact on the invasion of Taiwan, because once again, that's more so of an Eastern Theater Command concern. And as far as the Eastern Theater Command is concerned, the purge hasn't really hit them too hard, and even if it has, it hasn't really interdicted their direct mission that they've had for nearly 70 years. So as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really appear that the impact will be significant. But once again, to really explain where the impact will be felt, it will be felt the most significantly inside of the internal political structure of the PLA. Such a blow like that may actually incense the PLA to anger to the point that they may attempt an overthrow of Xi Jinping. Or we may see that that's actually terrifying enough to see that even He Weidong could be arrested, that they'll pretty much submit to Xi Jinping in hopes of being able to keep their positions in the PLA and hopefully not be the next one to have their head rolled. That might also be a high likelihood as well. But we'll never really entirely know until time passes, because there's a million different ways that they could react, and there's also a million different other factors and variables that we're not really able to analyze or account for here on this channel, just due to the fact that the CCP and the PLA are highly secretive because of their, original design. And so us people out here in the public, and not even the Chinese themselves beyond those very inner circles, really know exactly what's going on and what will be happening as a future hypothetical result. So with that, I hope that does address that the best I can. Huge thanks to you once again, Tom S., for sponsoring the live chat and helping this channel to keep on running. And we have had loads and loads of great questions tonight, and also a massive amount of support. We will be getting to every other super chat that has come in tonight after the remainder of our news. But before we move on from that, I do want to make sure that we address this interesting poll, still speaking about the Chinese in a way, but also adding in the Ukraine war as a little bit of an aside. Reports are now saying that it's not 115 Chinese mercenaries that are fighting in Ukraine. It's actually 200, with Chinese officers possibly observing them. And a lot of people have been putting in their thoughts. And a lot of people have been saying that China sent them for experience. And some others are saying that there needs to be some more details, and a very small amount are saying that China didn't actually send them. But Matthew, what are people thinking about that, and what are you thinking about that as well?
All right. So, with these new recent reports telling us that apparently more Chinese mercenaries are fighting inside of Ukraine than previously thought, and now we're learning as well that Chinese officers are also allegedly observing from behind Russian lines as to how their guys are performing. What are your thoughts? 70% said China sent them for experience, while 12% said we need more details first, and 11% said China did not actually send them. And originally, we did hear from Zelensky. It was about 115 or so that were confirmed inside of Ukraine fighting for the Russian side. And they were wondering, did China's government send them to fight in Ukraine? And we really were not sure about that. But now we're hearing that Chinese officers are now observing their performance. So to me, that indicates more likely than not, these guys were probably sent by China, in my opinion. So I'm actually with the 70%. I think China sent them for experience to see how they're going to perform on the front lines. And the officers are observing that, of course, with the Russians. So that's what I think. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd say, in my opinion, I do think that the Chinese send them for experience at this point, especially if they have officers observing them on the battlefield. They're most likely trying to collect intelligence and data on what a modern war actually does look like, and the kind of, one second. Bless me. Goodness gracious, man. Oh, man, I'm telling you. Yeah, they're most likely trying to gather some data and information, if they can, on how modern wars are fought, so that way they can start to alter their doctrine accordingly, so that way they minimize their casualties and increase their battlefield effectiveness. That would be the most corporate way that I could put that. It sounds like I'm about to be giving a briefing to the Air Force here in a minute about the F-47. But anyways, with that, I hope that has addressed that question quite well. But moving on into a brief side note, we are now hearing that the United States of America, with our bristling muscle and our determination to ensure that the Islamic Republic of Iran doesn't produce a nuclear weapon, has now decided to give Iran time. We're now going to be entering into talks with them. Talks, guys, because they've worked before. And the White House says that Iran talks in Oman are a step forward. We talked to them for 15 minutes today. They told us that we're the infidel, we deserve to die, they're going to come and kill us all. And then we said that was a very beneficial talk. We'll start again for real tomorrow. So we will be seeing what goes on as a result of these talks, but I'll be honest with you folks, I don't like the idea of talks with the Iranians. They have proven that they are distrusting, untrustworthy, and they are producing a nuclear weapon. This isn't really something that we have time to talk with them about, folks. Y'all know why? Because if we let them have more time, they might use that time to actually make a nuke. And then when they test it, we can't touch them anymore, because then they're nuclear armed. It's not a great thing. Doesn't make any sense to talk to them right now. They have been on the cusp of creating a nuclear weapon for months now, so maybe it's time for us to not sit there and be, the loudmouth asshole of the world and just run our mouth at everyone and then, as I call it, bitch out at the last minute. Maybe it is time for us to actually move forward with some aggressive military action to deal with the Islamic Republic of Iran. They are incredibly dangerous. They've made themselves out to be incredibly dangerous. A highly unstable government. They've attacked Israel twice over the past year and a half. They have openly attempted to attack the United States through its proxy forces multiple times. What happened? What happened, folks? What happened to the President of the United States, the current one that is, saying that actions of Iranian proxy forces like the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas are going to be considered direct armed actions of Iran. And since then, the Houthis have directly fired onto U.S. warships, aircraft carriers, and everything else dozens of times. Dozens of times. The USS Stockdale has, I think, something like 70 victory marks on it right now because of the amount of times the Houthis fired at them. And that happened during this guy's current administration. Now, what happened to us viewing that as direct armed action by the Iranians directly? We went from that to now we're going to bitch out and we're now going to talk to the Iranians. What is making this approach any different than the approach of, say, Biden or Obama in the past, where or himself in the past? Because just to explain this is a failing, in my opinion, from every single angle. The Republicans and the Democrats have not managed the situation better or worse than each other. It has been a shit show since 2014 and 2016. So back in the day, Obama said, "Oh, they're creating nuclear reactors. Let's stop them from making a nuclear weapon." So he made a nuclear deal with them that said that they could make nuclear weapons peacefully. Well, not nuclear weapons. They could make nuclear power peacefully, but they had to pinky promise that they were never going to create a nuclear weapon. Although we were allowing them the ability, even at that time, to enrich their own nuclear fuel, which is clearly quite easy to move just a couple of steps over and create a nuclear weapon, especially if you can can enrich your own nuclear fuel. So that was a terrible plan. Like that was a terrible treaty that we had with the Iranians. So then Trump came in 2016, and then he ripped it up. Just ripped it up, like just said, screw that. So then we didn't have a deal, and then you know what he did? Nothing. Like, he just ripped up the deal, which means that they can now start to easily pursue nuclear weapons development and not even be in the violation technically of a treaty. They'd still be, violating the non-nuclear proliferation treaty, but they wouldn't be violating the treaty with the U.S. because we ripped it up. But then we didn't even do anything beyond that to stop them. So then 4 years passed, and Trump did nothing but just kind of make the situation worse. And then Biden comes in, and you know what Biden did? Nothing. Again, he just did nothing. Like, we did nothing to them. The proxy forces of Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis started openly attacking the Israelis and also global shipping. And our response was to send over, and this is a great response, honestly. In my opinion, it's nothing, but this is what we did. We sent over the Navy to protect global shipping and shoot down drones whenever they showed up. And also we got shot at a good bit too. And then we airstrike them a little bit. So then Trump comes in, and we say that Biden was weak, all right, because he did really nothing to stop the Iranians from getting a nuclear weapon, and also he let the Houthis fire on American ships, and then we really did nothing about it but bomb them a little bit. So Trump's response was, we're going to be so much stronger than Biden. We're going to bomb them a little bit. We're going to send the Navy over there to get shot at, and then we're really going to do nothing to deal with Iran creating a nuclear weapon because we're going to allow them to stall and just yip-yap to us for months now, and then they're going to create a nuclear weapon. I mean, literally, this approach is the same one as Biden. It's just that Trump ran his mouth for a couple of months here, threatening to glass them, and then we're not even going to do that. This is literally a wash, rinse, and repeat of the last 4 years, and in my opinion, as far as foreign policy was concerned, it wasn't just the last 4 years that were a failure, it was the last 4 years that Trump was in office in 2016 to 2020, and it was also a failing of Obama from about 2013 to 2016 when this started to first become an issue. It's been a failing from end to end, and it's quite obvious that over this long period of time where we have a endless track record that the Iranians are going to create a nuclear weapon no matter what. We're going to sit here and act like they'll abide by another treaty again, and that they do not want to kill Americans or Israelis. Every time they have a national assembly in Iran, they started by chanting death to Israel and death to America. That is not a country that is going to adhere to a treaty that is going to tell them that you can't kill Israelis and Americans more efficiently by creating a nuclear weapon. That just doesn't make any sense. We should be out here right now telling them that there are no negotiations, and them developing a nuclear weapon is off the table. We will start glassing the Iranian government and military, as well as their nuclear research and development abilities, before they ever get their hands on a nuclear weapon, and there will be no negotiations over this at all. That should be the approach of the president. That would be my approach in this situation, because there are times to negotiate, but when it comes to the Iranians ever even mentioning nuclear weapon in their mouth and letting that pass their lips, that's not where we negotiate. That is where we start threatening to bomb everyone and also possibly overthrow their government in that kind of a situation. There's no room for negotiation on nuclear proliferation. None whatsoever. But still, a lot of people have been throwing in their opinions on this, because this is something that I've been quite vehement about for years now, and we can just continue to see the same mistakes are made, no matter who's in charge. It's the same damn mistakes. It's the same ones, never changing. We're still seeing it happen again. We're sitting here, we're so much stronger now. We're so much stronger, just absolutely stronger, because unlike Biden, who sent the Navy out there, they got shot at a little bit, and we airstrike them a little bit. Now we're sending out the Navy to get shot at, and we're airstriking them a little bit again, the second time around, and then we're going to allow the Iranians to slip away without being harmed after conducting untold damage to global shipping supply chains for about a year, and also attacking Israel directly twice. We're now going to sit back and just let the Iranians get away with it, and they'll have their cake and eat it too. They might actually be able to develop a nuclear weapon out of this after all. So a lot of people are saying that the Iranian talks, they're pretty much just stalling for more time again. And others are saying that 9% of people are saying the Iranians will reach a deal again soon. Doesn't really seem a lot of people have a lot of faith in that one. And then a very small group of people are saying that we don't want war with Iran. Like, we'll let them have a nuclear weapon or do whatever. They can rain hell on the world, but we just don't want a war with them. We'd rather just get nuked and watch our whole family get broiled in a 7,000 degree fire from a nuclear bomb rather than try and stop them, because that would be better. So, Matthew, what are people thinking about this, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right. So 77% said Iran is stalling for time once again, while 9% said Iran will reach a deal soon, and 7% said we don't want war with Iran. And I would say that Iran is taking a piece of the book straight from Putin right now, and they're doing the exact same stalling tactic that Putin's pulling off as we speak. Generally, it's been proven successful that Putin's stalling tactics have worked for a pretty long time. It looks like the patience is starting to run out just a little bit, but not enough, though, because it looks like Putin is still sort of like riding the fence right now. And I think Iran's going to do the same thing. According to reports today, the Iranians met with the U.S. officials for a brief 15 minutes or so, and then they said, okay, we'll talk next week. Okay, we're going to go sleep a little bit and we'll talk next week. To me, that comes across as stalling. That does not sound like a real negotiation. What is Iran waiting for? Like, the time is now, because we have all of our assets in the region to bomb the hell out of Iran. So why would they wait unless they're trying to just play games? So, of course, with them chanting death to America in their legislature and things like that, I would say that's pretty clear they're not going to reach a deal. And why would we want to reach a deal with a country that's acting like that, with a government like that? Because if they feel that way toward us, then why should we trust them whatsoever? So I would say they've proven themselves untrustworthy. We shouldn't go in and let them stall for more time to build this nuclear weapon, because that's probably what they're doing. So I'm with the 77%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'm with the 77%, 100%. This is stalling for time. And something that's just, oh, it just drives me crazy. The last guy didn't do nothing to him. Biden did nothing to him. He just let him do whatever the hell they wanted, and we kind of like had knee-jerk reactions, but it was nothing to actually stop them. Then, now the new guy comes in, who is Trump, and we're going to do nothing to him again. We're bombing the Houthis a little bit. Biden did that. Nothing new. And then we're going to let the Iranians negotiate their way into buying enough time to create a nuclear weapon. And I see some people, I've seen some detractors. Someone said, you don't know everything is going on. And another person added on to that and said, I mean, do you even really know that the Iranians are trying to create a nuclear weapon? Yeah, we do. For one, they're talking about creating a nuclear weapon with America and stopping that. So that's clearly admitting that they're creating a nuclear weapon. Two, Khamenei came out 2 weeks ago and said, we are creating a nuclear weapon. He said this on television, and you can actually find the clip. We are creating a nuclear weapon, and America's not going to stop us. They can threaten anything, and we're still going to make that nuclear weapon. So they can kiss our ass. That's exactly what he said. So it's not like it's not at all like this is just something made up, or it's something, that's just pie in the sky. This isn't an Iraq situation where it's like a question of, do they really have a nuke, or do they really have chemical weapons? No, the Iranians are admitting it. The Iranians are admitting it up and down that they actually are making a nuclear weapon right now. They've been doing it for months. They did it 2 weeks ago, quite clearly, in the open air. The Israelis are saying, there's no doubt about it, they're creating a nuclear weapon. Everything is showing that they're creating a nuclear weapon. They have centrifuges and other nuclear fuel enrichment facilities in the country. They have facilities that we clearly know are researching and developing the abilities to produce and field a nuclear weapon. And then some people are saying, well, it's no concern because they can't reach us. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this idea, at least those people who are saying it, but have you ever heard of technological evolution? Like, I guess you haven't, because it's not like it's the 1800s and people went, oh, well, the plane, I mean, it's like a glider pretty much. I mean, that thing's not going to become a big deal. I mean, it's like, have you ever heard of the Airbus A380? I mean, we're not flying Wright flyers around the world like it's 1903 anymore. Technology evolves, and much like any technology evolves, the Iranians' ability to field an intercontinental ballistic missile, it's going to evolve into being, just like the North Koreans. Because when the North Koreans created their first nuclear bomb in 2007, we said, oh, well, I mean, they don't even have a missile to fire it on. Fast forward to the present day, they can hit anywhere in the United States of America because they now have an ICBM capable of doing that. And that's what the Iranians are going to do. There isn't going to be a little, oh, well, they can't reach us and they never will. They're going to reach us in probably like 10 years, maybe, at a minimum. Less than that.
Yeah, much less than that. If they spend their time for a week of developing that nuclear warhead, I would assume this is a pretty safe assumption to make. Iran is a huge supplier of weaponry to Russia right now. Russia needs the weapons coming from Iran to keep this war going in Ukraine. And if Iran calls in a favor and says, hey, we need to borrow one of those rockets because we need to be able to deliver this nuclear warhead to the enemy, I think Russia would comply with that request because they need Iran on their side, and they would probably say, yes, we can send that to you. And that's all they need to actually lob the missile at somebody with a nuke on it. So I would say that they're going to probably rely on obtaining that technology from elsewhere instead of trying to spend a decade trying to develop the technology would be my guess.
And I also saw Howard Mendelsohn had, stopping them from making a weapon will require a real war with soldiers fighting theirs. Yeah, but what's the alternative? Like if we're always like the thing is that sometimes you have to stop people and do the right thing even if it's going to be tough. I mean, yeah, it's going to end up being a full-scale war. Yes, we're probably going to be there for a while. It might cost a lot of money. But what is worse? Well, I can tell you what's going to be worse if they have a nuclear weapon, because it's not a country like China, that largely has a somewhat stable government and largely keeps to themselves, at least historically up until now. It's not like the Soviet Union, which we faced down for 50 years, and we're almost at the point of nuking them nearly every year, and they were almost at the point of nuking us every year. It's not that kind of a situation. The Iranians want to kill us. That's their goal isn't to spread some sort of ideology or some sort of communism. They hate Americans and they hate Israelis. Specifically, they don't like the Jews living in Israel. They want to kill them and they want to kill us as Americans just the same. That is their ideology. I mean, there's literally nothing else beyond that than wanting to kill us because we aren't them. So that's the country that's going to have a nuclear weapon. I can tell you that that's going to be a lot worse than putting our troops on the ground and having to deal with this situation. Because like, think about it from their perspective, from their ideological perspective. One day they had to fire a nuke. Sure, we're going to kill them right after they hit us with a nuke, but they're all going to become martyrs according to their own ideology. There's nothing to lose for them. It's a win-win. They kill the Israelis, they kill the Americans, they get killed in return, they become martyrs for their cause. There's no way in their mind that they're losing. And so that's a dangerous kind of a country to have a nuclear weapon. If any country was to have a nuclear weapon, that is the worst. That is the actual worst right there. And that's why they should not have one. That's why we shouldn't even be in talks about them having one or not. We should just be saying that is a no. You will not have one, and we will go to any lengths to stop you from having one. If we have to go and literally put hundreds of thousands of U.S. soldiers into Iran and occupy the country for the next 7 years and create an interim government and literally form Iran out of the ashes into a new country and a government, that is a far, far, far better alternative to me than this kind of an unstable, radical Islamic country having a nuclear weapon. That is dangerous not only for us, it's dangerous for our allies in the Middle East, it's dangerous for our global positioning in the world and our ability to control Middle Eastern oil, which is a very important thing at this era in time. So that would be my opinion. Good point, like Howard Mendelsohn, but at the same time, that is a high cost, but it would cost a lot more to do nothing. Kind of like with what we did in World War II. It would have cost us far less if America had just gotten involved in World War I and World War II right when they started. Like, for example, if we got involved in the Pacific in 1936, hell, we would have never seen 270,000 Americans die in the Pacific afterwards. We would have never seen it. Japan was too weak at the time. They just didn't have a good military yet. It was all right, but it wasn't good. We would have been able to deal with them easy. If we had gotten into World War I in 1914, the Germans would have been quashed. I mean, the manpower advantage that we would have had over them then would have been enough to overwhelm the Germans and end the war by 1915 or 1916. The suffering and death that World War I is known for and World War II would have never been a thing because we would have dealt with it early, and sure, lives would have been lost, but it would have been a far fewer number of lives lost. But still, I hope that it does address that well the best I can. But with that, it is actually time for us to move on into the war in Ukraine. So with that, it is time for us to get on into our location unknowns. We haven't been getting any news out of Belgorod and Kursk lately, so we know that the Ukrainians are still there. It's just that it seems to be a fairly inactive front right now. Neither side's really doing anything. But moving on into the location unknowns, we did get to see a Ukrainian Leopard 1 in maintenance. And we also got to see this drum with Caterpillar power on it.
Look at that. They have some cat out there. That's very nice to see. They make good Bobcats too. Oh, look at this massive Mercedes engine, by the way. That is nice.
Man, how do you know it's a Mercedes engine?
Look at the cylinder heads.
Man, Leopard 1s have Mercedes engines. Isn't that cool? That's pretty neat.
I love that, by the way. That's so nice. So nice.
Man, it's incredibly nice. Moving on from that, we also got to see Ukrainian soldiers going through anti-drone training, which consists of them shooting down drones with shotguns. Pretty neat, honestly. Also, we can see these guys laying into them with some AKs. We can also see the guys flying the drones. And we also see them doing some clay pigeon shooting. I'm actually fairly good at that. I have a fun time with that. But still, the anti-drone training appears to be going somewhat well. We can also see one that did get shot down. Pretty neat. Moving on from that, and into our next bit of news, we also got to see them dropping a little drone. Take a look at this. Dropping it with net. And there goes the net blade. Oh, and they got it, and down goes the drone.
A real simple method, but it works though. Got to admit.
Just to get that propeller all mixed up, and down it goes. Rest in pieces.
You know, in the ship world, I think that's called a prop fouler if you throw that into a ship's like propeller like that. So I guess you can call this a drone fouler.
Whoa. I mean, look at that prop fouler. I mean, it's not really a Marine Corps grade prop fouler, but whoa. Guess you could say they got that thing fouled up.
I mean, you call him a fouler, but man, he's a howler. Oh, look at that.
Probably got another one. Man, these things are kind of effective, honestly. Like, respectfully.
Honestly, this is disrespectfully. Like, just taking them straight out of the sky is a simple method.
I mean, like, whoa. Look at that spoiler. Oh, they just rammed into that one. They didn't even use the little net thing. But that's the end of the clip. And moving on from that and on to our next clip, we also got to see that unfortunately an F-16 was apparently shot down by the Russian Federation today. We were able to hear that apparently a large amount of surface-to-air missiles were fired at the aircraft, and it was either lost to an S-400 or an RS-37 air-to-air missile. We're not entirely sure. The pilot did unfortunately die in the incident, and the Ukrainian Armed Forces, the Ukrainian Air Force specifically, is investigating the incident and trying to figure out why that happened and why the F-16 got so close to air defense that it was not able to evade it. Nevertheless, moving on from that, we did also get to hear about the Russian casualty report as well, and we were able to see that the numbers were interesting today. Holy moly!
0 Bobcats today, folks. 0. Zilch. None. 0. Empty. Nada.
Jinx. But beyond that, Ms. Deese, keeper of the record, stated that all categories are near the 7-day averages, except for APCs, which are about half. Troop losses daily average is about 1,300 and 1,350 for April. And now it's time for us to get into them numbers. 1,240 Russian soldiers were wounded and killed over the past 24 hours, along with 7 APCs, 128 supply trucks, 11 main battle tanks, 49 artillery pieces, 78 drones, and 2 MLRSs. That was a pretty decent day, all things considered, but not the highest today that we've seen. Oh man, did someone say hi? Not now. Moving on from that into the northern front, we were able to see some Russian positions getting destroyed by GBU-62s, which were dropped by the Ukrainian Air Force kindly onto the Russians below. It's a door front delivery, they call it.
This is called explosives dasher. Oh, look, my dasher's almost here. Bing, boom.
Oh, what is that in the mail? Is that a letter from oh God.
Oh. Oh, man, it's a letter from the Ukrainians, and they're sending their regards. I mean, call them a mailman, but they're delivering the mail.
I mean, call him the milkman because looks like after this
he needs some milk.
Looks like after this little trip, they're going to be sleeping with your mom. Whoa. But that, and on to the next clip, we also get to see the Ukrainians burning some Russian systems of some fineries up there. We can see them hitting some radar dishes, security cameras, that sort of a biz.
I mean, don't call him a shoplifter, but they're knocking out these security cameras like a pro. Whoa.
I gotta tell you, no one's knocking out security cameras better than the Ukrainian drones.
I mean, the voice is harsh, but sounds presidential.
Who are you with? What organization are you with? They don't count. I never heard of them. Plus, your ratings are bad. L plus ratio plus psych plus skibbity toilet.
I mean, don't call him a fortune teller, but I think he's right.
You need to buy more crypto. You need to buy crypto coins. I've heard of Bitcoin. I've also heard of a great coin that I have. It's 90% clearance. You can get it for 90% less than what it was originally worth. Great coin. Wonderful coin. Love to hear it. Love to see it. We call it a good old-fashioned rug pull. Great rug pulls. I always said, whenever I went to the furniture store, I said, can you pull out the rugs? Now they call it a rug pull. Totally different thing. You walk in and you don't sit there and ask them to pull the rug out. They pull the rug out from under you. It's absolutely crazy. They
say he's a carpenter, but he's pulling these rugs like a pro.
Gotta tell you, absolutely crazy how people are doing that. But we also got to see the Asgard striking some Russian vehicles down near the area of Bakhmut and Chasiv Yar. Check it out.
Oh, just like that, like the Asgard, like in the movie, the Marvel movies and stuff like that. They're pulling up the Asgard.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Or if you're the Russians, they're pulling up the Asgard.
That little styrofoam piece that they always put over their ass for some reason. I don't know what that's about.
The country stadium seating. The Russians use that for nice comforting.
Man, they're really hitting these cars, man. Like Buhankas, Ladas. That's pretty much all there is out there is Buhankas and Ladas. I've never seen really a lot of other brands.
Buhanka.
Oh, there's another Buhanka. And we can see it was the alien unit that did it. They did it good.
Man, they hit them so bad they thought it was aliens.
Man, they're like the ancient aliens guys. So basically, aliens built the pyramids. It's like, yeah, sure. But anyways, we get to see right here. I forgot his name from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. But what about the hit some Russians? And it looks like they're hitting a year-old 4320 right there. Whoa, I mean, you know, it looks like it was a year old, but the Ukrainians turned it into a urinal.
Well, I mean, don't call him a professional, but that's a nice arc.
We see them here hitting a 2S1 Akitsia. That's what that said. They're about to blow it up here in a second. Nope.
I mean, I'm just saying, but this footage hits different when Joseph Stalin's looking over your shoulder. I mean, don't call him a stalker, but he's looking pretty hard.
He looks like he's from the streets. Like, you know, he could sell you a mean newspaper.
I mean, I don't know if he served in the military, but he's got that 1,000-yard stare like no one I've ever seen.
And then as soon as that guy hears that you're not from the military, then you're just like less than human. Like that's like
he's just a scrub, a civilian, you know, nothing. And you know, what has he even done? I mean, he might have built a multi-million-dollar company, but what has he done?
He might be worth billions of dollars, but did he ever get beaten by his friend from his friends with a bunch of socks full of butter in some bunk bed? No. Like no, he did.
You haven't lived until you got shellacking from a butter sock. I mean, when you feel that butter hitting you, it hits different. And that butter's not room temperature. That's frozen butter.
I mean, when you feel that cold, hard butter hitting you in that sock, it really makes things different. Like,
I mean, some guys don't buy real butter. They buy margarine, but I can tell you can believe this is real butter.
I can't believe it's not butter.
Yeah, I was trying to say that, but it didn't quite come out that way.
Man, they've been absolutely slamming some supply trucks down here and a few artillery pieces. And the Ivan Franco group. We always love to hear about Franco. But moving on from that and down into Toretsk, we did get to see, as our opening of the Toretsk battle today, that the Ukrainians destroyed a Russian FPV waiting to ambush the Ukrainians on the road. They literally blew it to pieces, and that was the clip. But moving on from that and into our next one, we also were able to see that the Ukrainians have been able to make some more ground. They have taken some more ground from the Russians in Toretsk. Very nice to see. We've also been able to see the Ukrainians actually doing that today as they were hitting Russians in their hideouts. There's a Russian in a hidey hole right there.
Hey, look, they added like a cat logo to that screen. That's kind of neat.
Man, look at that. It's like a little cat. Isn't that cute? Boom, and there it goes. The cat's back. Maybe we would call that the cat in the cat with the bat. You know, it's because it's really batting them around down there. But moving on from that and on to our next clip, as I was trying to avoid copyright infringement, we also got to see the Cord Police Unit under artillery fire in the city today as well. Oh, pretty close hit. I
hear moaning.
I I hear moaning. I don't know if one of those guys is wounded or not, but still, it was a very close hit. Meanwhile, moving on to Retsk and further on down towards Pokrovsk, we also got to see the Omega unit hitting some Russian positions with apparently some really preppy, like, white girl music playing in the background.
That's that hipster music right there that they play in like these these like churches that are like really really commercialized. They're like, hey, oh, it's like that guitar going on in the background, stuff like that.
Dude, it's literally like that, like early 2000s music, making my way downtown, walking fast,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that kind of a thing. Well, is it still playing? Oh no, it changed to rock.
Oh.
Okay, well that's different. You see them still hitting the Russians. Honestly, I lost my monologue from that. Like, that was just so jarring. But anyways. Whoa, I mean, they're really hitting those Russians. I mean, I haven't seen anyone getting hit this bad since my wife. Whoa. But moving on from that and on to our next clip further down the line near Lysivka, we also get to see the 3rd Brigade in combat as well. Hi, everyone.
The Kharkiv region, the 3rd Assault Brigade was doing hard work.
This is why they are the best in the world. Man, they getting out in them trees. Man, call them the Lorax because they shoot in the trees. That is the end of the clip, but it was one hell of a video. Moving on from that and on to our next clip near the Kutline, we also got to hear that the Russians were getting pushed out today and the Ukrainians were taking prisoners. Oh, they pushed them all the way out today. Pushed them out as they were playing Legend of Zelda music. But I don't know what. Man, you remember that I used to make fun of them, man, for like picking the same tracks for every video over and over and over. And I was like, it's been 3 years. Pick something new. And then they started picking stuff that was new. And honestly, it's across the wall these days. I don't know what they're picking anymore.
I think they finally found the subscription to Storyblocks or something like that, and they got the music off of there because it sounds like that kind of music.
Dude, I was listening to some documentary videos today from like some multi-million subscriber channels, and I was hearing like the background music, and I started getting completely distracted. I was like, bro, that's like from Storyblocks. We've used that before in one of our documentaries. I was like, no way. I was like, they're using the copyright-free music.
And there's occasionally the people that don't want to pay for the license, so in the background you'll hear occasionally Audio Jungle.
Man, dude, honestly, man, like, for some reason, I always think that the multi-million, like, subscriber channels are, like, making their own music. Like, they have someone make their own custom music. But no, actually, the more we've worked on, documentaries and stuff, you find out everyone uses, like, copyright-free music. It's like $50 a month. You get, like, an unlimited subscription to get whatever you need. So, like, honestly, pretty low overhead on that sort of production.
I would say.
And we see them now taking prisoners. And look at that. The prisoners be prisonerin'.
Go ahead and put those zip tie handcuffs on them. Don't make them too tight. Make sure they're comfortable.
Make sure to double lock them. I gotta.
Did you see that guy on the floor right there? He twitched his hands around. Stop resisting, sir.
Now that will require a taser here in America. Like a taser. I didn't even see that guy originally, man. He like blended in with the soil. But there they go, the two prisoners off on their merry way. Kutalini has been retaken. Moving on from that and on into our next clip, we also get to see some helicopter combat footage from the area today as well.
Oh, wow. Look at the interior of this. This thing's got some nice avionics.
Whoa, I mean, look at those interiors. I mean, it's not really worn out like the helicopters of the Corps, but whoa, not really rugged, It's kind of weak looking.
I mean, it's not a Nautilus, but the interior looks like Breitling.
I mean, call them
Oh,
commies.
that's sick right there.
That was cool, actually. Oh, dang, look at that.
Oh.
Bro, look at that.
Jeez.
Man, I almost clipped him. I almost got him.
Driving down the highway like this is just so crazy. Like, just look at that.
Man, flying over a checkpoint and everything. Pretty cool. We see them doing their indirect fire. Oh, man, they're firing in the rain right there. You can see the streaks of rain on the windshield. Honestly, this is just sick.
These things do such good work.
It's always cool to watch them, you know? Man. I'm not going to lie, dude. Mi-24s are probably some of the coolest helicopters in the world still.
Yeah, that's the one helicopter right there that they really did good when they designed that one. That was a good aircraft.
Dude, the whole Soviet Union, 80 years of mediocrity. The only thing that actually ever looked good was one helicopter, and then they dipped as a nation forever.
Yep, that was it.
Dude,
they suffered from success so much from this helicopter.
Funnily enough, man, I think the Mi-24 like first flew in like some of the last years of the Soviet Union. Let me go check. Oh, it's manufactured from 1969 to present, so no. Huh. By the way, they didn't look that cool when they were first put into service because that was their cockpit. Like, they actually looked kind of rough. It was only the Mi-24D that actually started to look good.
Yeah, the D is looking much better.
The A, not so good. The D, looking pretty good. Not bad, not bad. There's many jokes to be made there. But moving on from that and out of that area, it's now time for us to move on into the south, where we were able to see them taking out some Russian drones. And take a gander at this. Oh, and they're taking out an Orlan.
Yeah. Look at that, an Orlan.
And another one. Oh, this is
little
amazing.
Stupid propeller.
Man, that thing's so stupid.
Man.
Well, that's the end of that clip. Impressive to see. And moving on from that, we also got to see some tanks getting hit down here in the south by the Presidential Brigade. They're very presidential, the way they be hitting them.
Line them up first. Got to get them in those sights.
And we can see them just slamming them. Here comes another. Oh, well, we didn't get to see that one hit. Okay, all right. Well, anyways, that was the end of that clip. And it's now time for us to move on into the air defense report, as we were able to hear that 88 drones attacked Ukraine overnight. 56 of them were shot down, and 24 of them were suppressed by electronic warfare and didn't reach the target. So it was a minimal number that actually made it. And some of y'all are wondering, hey, wait a minute. Where's the speech? Well, there isn't one tonight. There isn't a speech. Zelensky just did make one, so we don't have one. So it is time for us to move on into the second segment of the stream where we get to talk to all of y'all. But before we actually get down and dirty into talking with all of y'all about anything and everything, I do want to say that U.S. officials... I totally forgot all that news. Let me go over to America really quickly. We're not done with the news yet. We still have two more pieces left. First... the tariffs are being rescinded on China on, and I quote, smartphones, computers, semiconductors, solar cells, flat panel TV displays, flash drives, and memory cards. This is most of what China makes. 60% of their exports are these things. So pretty much the tariffs have been rescinded almost completely, rather than things that America really doesn't buy from China. So pretty much the tariffs have been rescinded on the Chinese today as well. So there's a 90-day extension on all of the tariffs on everyone else around the world, Canada, Mexico, the Europeans, and so on and such, as well as the Japanese, the South Koreans, Australia, New Zealand, you know, yada, yada, yada. And now we pretty much rescinded all of the important parts of the major tariffs that we had rolled forward on the Chinese, effective today. We've also been able to hear that there has been a little bit of additional news as well, because sanctions have been extended onto the Russians for another year as of today, because an executive order was signed today extending the previous administration's sanctions on the Russian Federation for another whole year. So it appears that the Russians are now going to be getting awful lightly with them sanctions. And we've also been able to hear that the USS Stockdale, which was currently moored in San Diego, has now been brought under the command of US Northcom as they extend their border security protections. So that was all of the American news that I just forgot to cover, and now we covered it. So, with all that in mind, now that we've heard about the sanctions being extended for another year, the U.S. officials have extended Russian sanctions for another full year. Is this enough to cripple Russia? And it seems as though people are split on this one. But Matthew, what are people thinking about it, and what are you thinking about it as well?
All right, so 40% said no, Russia can survive these sanctions, while 33% said yes, it will cripple Russia's economy, and 16% said it's probably just temporary and they'll probably remove it shortly. And I think they'll probably be permanent, honestly, because Putin does not show any signs of turning around. So I don't think they're going to be removed off of Russia anytime soon. But these are the same sanctions that have been on Russia for ages now. So it hasn't crippled them before, and I don't think it's going to cripple them now. Of course, it is hurting their economy, but it's not going to cause a total collapse. Russia has found a way around it, and until they apply even more harsher sanctions, that's going to be the only point in which Russia might have a collapse. So I'm going to say I'm with the 40%. Russia can survive these. It will be difficult, but they will survive under this current sanction regime. But Enforcer, what say you?
I have to say the Russians can possibly survive these sanctions. Not really, kind of like slightly, there's a chance. But I think that we need to make them more severe, and we also need to allow the Ukrainians to bomb the oblivion into the Russians, or bomb the Russians into oblivion. Either way, vice versa, it kind of works. Because then we'll see that the Russians actually have to talk their way out of this war, because they won't be able to keep it going. So that's what I would think, but that would be my take on it. So, Matthew, without further ado, let's get on into them questions. What do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
All right, so jumping into our first super chat, the last question segment, this one goes to James Hughes, who puts in a very generous $50 donation. And thank you, James, for that support and helping to keep the channel running. Because, of course, it is that support, like we say, like PBS, like a broken record, it is that support that keeps the channel running. We appreciate that. James said, will our president now give the Ukrainians what they need to kick the orcs out of Ukraine after Russia refused our best offer?
That is a great question, James Hughes, and the answer is nobody knows. It is a very hard thing, and I don't want to say this, folks, because I don't want to say this and make it sound political, but this is just the reality of it, because we've been running a show for 3 years, and usually we can predict fairly well what people's next actions will be, because usually it works off of a logical framework. But the current president kind of works on a logical framework where there isn't really a lot of logic applied. So the Russians insulting us, naturally one would think, okay, now we have to support the Ukrainians because this is really the only option we have, is to support our guy in the fight. We don't really know if that would happen. Like, that's really hard to say that would happen. It's decently likely that any multitude of things could happen, and it's just really hard to say. Like I can even back that up by giving y'all examples of people in the government right now that are in his administration that also say that, like the Secretary of Defense, the president will do what he wants whenever asked, what are we going to do to China? He'll do whatever he wants, because they don't even really know what the decision's going to be tomorrow, and we really don't know that either. Right now, I would say if we were to work off of a logical framework where we know what would happen, or we have a good understanding of what would happen, right now, because the Russians have insulted us and they made it fairly clear that they don't want peace, that forces us into continuing to support Ukraine in the war and just keep the war going. That's really the only option we have, so we kind of have to support them because we have no other choice. But I can't really say if that's going to happen for sure or not, but that should be what happens if it was working off of a logical framework. So with that, I hope that does address that well. But once again, folks, I want to say this. I'm not trying to make that political, okay? I'm just saying that because over the past 3 years of running this channel, we largely could tell what someone's reaction to an action was going to be, and be very on the mark usually every time. Like, we usually give like a hypothetical. We'd be like, okay, this happened, so here are 3 different responses to it, but this specific one is going to be the most likely, and usually it was the one that would happen. Nowadays, I can say, okay, this happened, and this is going to be what happens in like 2 days as a result of that, but here's also these other options that are highly unlikely. And almost every single time that we've done that, all of the options that I said are highly unlikely are the ones that are chosen. So it's really hard to even predict what's going to be happening, because honestly, the most illogical kind of choices are being generally made most of the time. And then it's like, and then how it works is that it will go on for like a week or two on that illogical decision, and then it's found out that that was stupid to do, and then they reverse that decision, and then they go with what they should have done in the first place. So that's kind of how it's been working. Some people might take that as political, but I assure you wholeheartedly that that's just how it's been working. Like, as far as their analysis have gone, that's how it's been going. We have gone as far as like judging, or not really judging, but as far as analyzing what America's next actions will be. We went from having a very predictable formula where we were able to get 90% of America's upcoming actions correct, to now I would say that we get about 10 to 15% of the upcoming actions of the United States correct. Like honestly, like even with Iran, I was saying, oh, it's coming. We're going to get them now because they're not going to denuclearize. Then we did the most unlikely action that I thought we would at this point, which is now we're entering talks with Iran about denuclearizing them. It's like, that is, you just can't even really predict this stuff out a good ways, because like literally for the last few weeks the president's been going, we're gonna kill them all, we're going to bomb them all, Khomeini's gonna be dead, he's gonna be a charred briquette from Kingsford charcoal briquettes, it's gonna be great. And then like we go into negotiations with them. I mean, like usually when people say stuff they usually follow through with it, at least on like foreign policy stuff. There isn't really a lot that's hidden from the public eye. What you see is what you get. Like, for example, let me give another example. When George Bush said Saddam Hussein needs to leave Baghdad within 24 hours, there's going to be hell coming. Hell came in 24 hours. We started bombing them and we invaded Iraq in 2003. It happened. I mean, he said it and it was followed through on. You knew what was going to be happening in 24 hours. Now we could hear something like, we're going to bomb Iran. And then tomorrow when we said we were going to bomb them, we start negotiating with them. It's really hard to predict this kind of stuff. So I hope that answer kind of works, but I also want to make it very clear. Take my answer with a minuscule, the smallest little grain of salt that you can take it with, because it's probably going to be wrong. But that's what we should do. We should support Ukraine from this point on because of how the negotiations went, and also due to the fact that they stalled. So with that, I hope that does address it the best I can. Thank you so much once again for support, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one is going to go to Snow White, who puts in a $50 donation, and thank you, Snow White, as well, for being a channel legend, and once again, supporting the channel. And they said, nice to be with you live tonight, and live chat question, please.
I got to thank you so much for the support, Snow White, that massive support, and I got to thank you for being here with us tonight. I haven't seen you around, at least recently, often, but I do thank you for being here with us tonight and supporting this channel and helping it to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible and keep it running so that way we could grab a live chat in honor of Snow White. And so what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so the live chat question is going to go to Snowy, who says, any idea if the Wagner forces are still at the Poland-Belarusian border, and we never hear of them anymore, and maybe better too?
They pretty much ceased to exist from what we know. Even in Belarus, they don't exist anymore. They became a unit of the Rosguardia, and from there they were cracked up even further, and I don't even think that unit of the Rosguardia even exists anymore. So pretty much in most effects, the Wagner has ceased to exist. They are an extinct unit. So that's why we don't really hear about them anymore, is because they just don't exist. So kind of a very straightforward answer, but really something that not a lot of people have talked about. I mean, we haven't even talked about it a lot on this channel, because the death and the extinction of the Wagner was such a slow thing that the Russians did, and it was deliberately slow so that way people wouldn't see it happening. But still, thank you once again for support. I hope that does address that incredibly well, and thank you once again for sponsoring at Live Chat Snow White and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we've also got a 50 from Howard Mendelson, who, of course, put in that 50. And thank you very much, Howard, as well, for that also very generous support, and also helping to keep the channel trucking along. And Howard said, Russian safety standards at work.
I'll tell you, Russian safety standards, we're certainly at work down there at Engels with that whole fire happening, where it happened, when it happened, and we don't know why it happened. A little bit odd with that, I will say. Oh, dude, there's some fuel tanks right there.
Do you think they spilled it straight out of the main tank?
I think they spilled it out of these, and that's what caught on fire, maybe, because if it was from the northwestern area of the facility, that seems to line up a good bit.
Yeah, I think that would make sense, actually. That would, if they spilled it that close, that's kind of stupid to have that close to the hardened shelter, by the way. It's kind of stupid.
Yeah, it is kind of stupid. But, it's Russia, so what can you expect? It's cheap, cutting corners in every way, in safety and all else, in construction, so I guess that makes sense. But that is very close to where those fires were on the firm satellite, because it was the northwestern corner, and that's in the kind of like central northwest corner of the facility, so that kind of lines up a good bit. But yeah, Russian safety practices once again at work. Also, I like how the nearby village is called Comintern, which is a very commie kind of... Let me go pull up that for you. Comintern may refer to Comintern, aka Communist International, an international communist organization that advocated world communism. And the nearby town is called Comintern, the closest one to this facility. Well, I guess you could say that international communism really helped them out, because they caught the damn nuclear facility on fire. It's like, how great is that? Man.
Comintern's trying to become the next Pripyat.
Man, they said, not only do we believe in everyone having the same thing, we believe in everyone getting the same amount of radioactive exposure up in this town. Light that baby on. It's like light that baby on fire. And then they set that thing alight. But yeah, interesting. They got Commie Town next. What does Commie Town look like? Oh, we got Street View in Commie Town. Commie Town looks like Commie Town. It is Commie Town up in here.
What are these two doing over here? Conspiring in the car? Look at this guy.
Man, what was that?
Picking his nose.
What was that thing that guy said, man? He was like, man, I'm waking up in Philadelphia. Welcome to Philadelphia. And then he looked down the street, drug sale, drug sale. You know, he's like singing
that, man.
Dude, I'll have to show that to you after the stream, man. But I think that's a crocodile cell. But holy smokes, folks. People say Russia's nice. I haven't seen a rural American town look like this in ever. Actually, I haven't seen anything like this. Oh, look, we got a bus with the colors of Russia on it. It's also covered in dirt. A lot of it. Goodness gracious, man. Oh, bless these people in Commie Town, dude. Like, this is a rough place. Dude, look, that one, they cheaped out at the top. Like, they ran out of money for cinder blocks, so they switched to bricks about 2/3 of the way up.
They sure did. Look at that.
Bro, that is sad. Oh, my God. And then they got this giant concrete pad out here for no reason. Like, why? Why do they have the concrete pad? They also have this, large former German hand grenade in the field sitting on its handle. The potato masher, they used to call him. We also have, this is Vadim's house. He's been working on the renovations lately. What else do we have here? Oh, yes. We have the lineman. That's not even a cherry. What the hell is that? That's not even a cherry picker, dude. That's like a stand.
Telescoping boom arm, basically.
Dude, that truck doesn't look like it can really hold up that weight, honestly. Like, that thing kind of looks like it'd be struggling a little. And then we also have...
Honestly, the nicest thing in town is honestly the power lines. Like, the poles in the lines look fantastic compared to the town.
Dude, and then we have this commie... Oh my God, look how many people were packed in that thing!
It's a commune. They all get to smell each other, basically.
Dude, they believe in the commie stuff here in Commie Town. Also, Laser314 said, Alabama? This doesn't even touch Alabama. Like, Alabama's rough. This is beyond Alabama. Like, this is beyond anything I've seen. The decorations in their yard are tires painted different colors of pink and blue. Now, this is poverty. This is where poverty exists now. You don't see...
It's one of those Russian gender reveal things. They have, like, the blue and the pink tires out there.
And they have them both in the same spot at the same time because it's a mutant, because of the radiation. But let's see. Let's see. What does that sign mean? Red car, black car? What does that mean?
Red car, bad car. Other car, good car. Nonetheless, go 40.
Look out for capitalist spies driving around in cars. 40 miles an hour. The speed limit. It's just... Oh! Oh my God, dude!
Oh, look, they have a lakefront property right in the road.
Dude, your car, you have to have like one of those amphibious cars to get down that street. Oh my God, what is that?
That is some type of abomination.
What is going on down the street further down? Oh my God, dude. I would hate to live in Russia. I would absolutely hate to live in Russia. Oh
this is terrible, by the way. This is awful.
What is that out there?
What is that?
I have no clue.
Chernobyl.
Oh, look, we got the lone hut, man. Honestly, that was like a Fukushima, like Daiichi kind of a disaster picture right there. But hold up, what is...
Home on the range. It's a commie little intern town. It's terrible on the range.
This is... Oh my God.
This is wicked.
This is just terrible. I'm trying to find where, like, the shops are at. Maybe they're in here. Was that called Leningrad? It is literally called Leningradskaya Street. Like, so, this is this place is still stuck in commie times, and it sure as hell looks like it, too.
Lenin blessed these people with everything that he had in his system.
Oh my God, Lenin blessed these people with bullshit and tons of it. I've never seen a place. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my God. Their store shut down. Dude, this is like the Walmart shutting down in Tuskegee, but worse. Like, this wasn't even Walmart. Also, oh my God. Dude, I'm honestly shocked by this. This is terrible. Where are the
This is one of the
stores?
roughest ones.
Wait a minute. There's a hospital here? Oh, I'm doubting that. What can a
5
hospital?
star.
The hospital's on this street. No way in hell. No way in hell. I'm calling cap on
Let's
that.
see the reviews on it.
It only has one review. These
There
are no narrow specialists. What the hell does that mean? What is a narrow specialist?
I don't know, but this guy's a local guide, so apparently knows what he's talking about. He has 11 photos. Don't click on it, by the way. I'm scared to see it.
Ivan Chad. He's a Chad for living in this place. Many lesser men have died here. But what in the hell? What do their commie blocks look like? Is this like a nicer part of town? Oh, no, it's not.
Dear.
Oh my God, this is worse.
Oh, there's plaster. There's a straight up plaster on the wall, and you see the brick.
Man, I went to buy rock and he gave me plaster. Like, it's just, oh my God, this is terrible. This is terrible. I've never seen anything like this. Oh my God, this is honestly terrible. This is terrifying, really, to think that people live like this.
This is bad.
Dude, and people go, Russia is a first world country and America is third world. I doubt it. If we are a third world and this is first world, I'm happy to be living in a third world country. Thank you very much. This is terrible.
But guess what? Guess what? Groceries are cheap. Oh, you know why the groceries are cheap? Because you think these people can afford like normal price groceries? Probably not. They'd probably starve to death. That's probably why they're cheap.
Hey, bro, look. Well, at least they. Oh, never mind. Hey, look, it's a cemetery.
That's like an open-ended cemetery. It's a huge.
Yeah, this just got a lot of people in it.
Holy crap!
Loads and loads of people here. What happened in this tiny town for the cemetery to be as big as the town? What happened out here? Oh, look, they're right near to the factories. I wonder what the industrial area looks like right in front of this factory. Oh, the factory actually doesn't look that bad.
Of course, it's nice.
Yeah, and they finally started paving the roads out here. Let's see here. What about the rest of this industrial area? See?
Oh, man. Oh, great heavens.
Now, someone said this is a lot like Ohio. I'm doubting it. Let's go drop down in Middletown, Ohio. For no particular reason, but let's just drop down in Middletown, Ohio. Nowhere close. Nowhere
Not
close
even
at all.
remotely similar.
Not even remotely close. This isn't even a nice part of America, and this is still like 10 times better than whatever the hell that is in Russia. That is crazy, honestly. That is insane, dude. That is honest. I wonder what China looks like if they had Street View like that. Like if they just unapologetically showed what China really looks like. I bet you it's worse than Russia.
I would imagine probably so. But I think Russia, the rural part of Russia, might be the worst it gets, actually.
Like, look at this. This is not bad at all. Honestly, man, Russia makes everything look good. This looks great, honestly, compared to Russia. But let's see. What a rural town in Alabama. What would be a rural town?
Pick I don't know, pick our rural town.
Yeah, you know what? Why not? Why not? Yeah, we can pick our rural town. Let me show you all that. So this is what our hometown looks like compared to that.
This looks heavenly compared to Russia, honestly.
Honestly, man, this looks like a slice of heaven. This honestly looks like like an Andy Griffith show kind of a town. And there was like nothing to do here, by the way, when we were here. But dude, look at this, man. The gentrification is happening.
Oh man, whenever the names start getting like that. Also, why'd they blur out the word gift items? They blurred it out like it was a cuss word or something like that. It's kind of weird.
It's
also,
profane.
they blurred out the other. Yeah, they blurred out the Chelsea too. It's like what? I was profane to say that.
Now they blurred it out, so it's like, what kind of videos are they making? It's like, man, that's like it's a bit of a mystery. But still, wait a minute. Wasn't that the barbershop?
Actually, I think it might have been the barbershop. Actually.
Holy smokes, the barbershop shut down. No way. If only that guy wasn't the mayor anymore. Yeah, honestly, man, this looks great. Honestly, man, it kind of makes me feel like we grew up. It didn't look like this when we were growing up, by the way. All of this happened like the last year we lived here. The town actually looked run down for the entire time we were there, and then the last year we were there, in between my junior and senior year of high school, they ripped everything up in downtown, like all of the shit, and then they changed it. I wish. Wait a minute, hang on. We can we can actually show y'all what it looked like when we were growing up. This is what it looked like when we were growing up.
That was it right there. Actually, yeah, actually it looked just like this. Actually, so much rougher until that TV show came here.
Yeah, because this is what the town looked like in 2013. So this would have been in the middle of us growing up here. They only did the changes. Like here was what it looked like in 2019, still the same. And I graduated from high school in 2020 from here. So all of these little changes happened like a year before we were going to leave. Actually, the changes happened even later than I said they did, because this is what it looked like in 2023, and now this is what it looks like pretty much in the present day. So much better, honestly. It looks insanely better.
Someone said, "What TV show came there?" It was a TV show on HGTV called Hometown Makeover or something like that. Somehow this town got chosen for it. And it actually did a pretty decent job with it, or at least inspired people to start taking it to a better level, I guess you could say. But it actually turned out looking pretty good. Like it's only a small little area. It's only like one or two square miles of area. So it's not massive, but the little area that is nice is pretty decent.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of older, quaint homes on the other side of the river. A lot of them, though, were wiped out by a tornado that came through in, what was it, 2018 or 2019, Matthew? An EF3 came through. Yeah, it was 2019. An EF3 came through, and it wiped out most of this church. That's why this parking lot's here. It used to not be a parking lot. And there used to be a beautiful house. Let me actually go on the little Wayback Machine and show you what that used to look like. This is what it looks like now, after the tornado. Before the tornado, this actually was a really nice side of town. So let me put it... Nah, we want it in April of 2016. Here we go. So this is what it used to look like before the tornado... oh, okay. All right. Well, I got to keep it on that. This is what it used to look like before the tornado came through on this side of town. There was that little house, and there was a little house in here. It was really cute. It was a really neat house. It was one of the oldest houses in the town. This church right here actually was around, I think, in the 1820s. It was the oldest church. If I remember correctly, it's the oldest church in the city of Wetumpka. The EF3 came through and wiped it out, literally down to the foundations. It didn't exist anymore. And it also destroyed that recreational building and also a good bit of that of this side building right here as well, and also took the steeples off of both of the buildings. And then there was this little strip of buildings over here and all of these trees that existed. And because of the tornado, this place went from looking like this. So take a little look at it. And then it went to looking like this. So now it looks like apocalypse wasteland kind of a deal, with all the trees not being there and most of all of this being wiped out and now turned into a parking lot. So this side of town doesn't look as well, it looks worse, but the other side of town, the actual downtown, looks far better. So you know, it's kind of like a bit of a trade. But there are some nice little houses back here, like on this little street, North Bridge Street, which is kind of like our main street. This is what it looked like. Actually, honestly, man, Wetumpka wasn't really that bad looking. Like, the whole time we were there, it was really bad looking. Nowadays, it actually looks pretty nice.
Yeah, it looks very nice and clean now, but, 10 years ago, it was not looking that way.
Yeah, let me see here. Let me see here. Maybe I can show y'all, like, oh, yeah, I can show you the main street and what it looked like. So this is kind of like the main street into town. This is what it looks like now. This area isn't really looking that great because they've been demolishing stuff here. But let me bring y'all back to 2013. I think that'll get the point across. Yeah, these buildings were still here and they were abandoned.
Ugh.
Yeah, and they were just...
It was looking very abandoned and rough.
Yeah, the town of Wetumpka was really rough back in the day. So you passed that and the courthouse was like kind of all right. Oh, look, they already got rid of it. Demolished all that already by this. Let me put this into June 2013. Yeah, there we go. It's still there. It's still there in this one. So you go downtown and there was like... The roads weren't really paved well, and most of the buildings were empty. It was like a completely abandoned town. And then you come down here, and they keep reverting it forward. Let me go to this. So that's what all this looked like. It was rough, honestly. Like, the whole place was rough. And then fast forward into the present day, and it looks like this, which is a lot better. Back then, it was rough as hell. So... Yeah, it's like, honestly, man, our hometown makes all of Russia look like doo-doo, really, at this point. It actually looks a lot better. And you know what's crazy, man? You know what's crazy? Like, we won't get into that whole side there. That's a whole rabbit hole for another time. But anyways, with that, I hope that gives you all a little bit of a glimpse of Russia versus America. America wins every time because we're the best on Earth. And so with that, it is time for us to move on into the next one. So what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so our next one goes to KG, who puts in a 50 as well. And thank you very much, KG, for that $50 support and helping to keep the channel running. And KG says a nuclear device needs a very controlled and precise detonation, but their ordnance is as susceptible as any other ordnance, so it might spill a nuclear payload, aka being a dirty bomb.
Thank you for the support, and that is a considerable risk, and we actually did explore that a good amount. And I thank you for adding in your expertise and knowledge to that as well, because it sounds somewhat close to what we were saying as well. And it's good to know that you also were able to add in and expound upon that a little bit extra. And so with that, a big thanks to you once again for the support, KG, and helping this channel to keep on running. And also, thank you so much once again for always being an old guard and a channel legend and supporting this channel and helping us to keep this thing running. And so a huge thanks once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $50 super chat from Tenzin Norbu. And thank you, Tenzin, as well, for that very generous $50 support and helping to keep the channel running. And they said, in retrospect, what was that?
I was joking. I was joking. Right.
Jeez. Man, Tenzin said, in retrospect, restoring the Shah of Iran through a CIA coup did not work out very well. And do you really think that occupying Iran for 7 years will turn Iran into a Western ally?
Oh, no, it wouldn't turn them into a Western ally, and that's not really the point either. That's not the point. It's like, not to laugh like that, but the point is, really, is to just kind of force them to stay out of our way. We didn't really, like, Iraq really isn't even our friend nowadays, but it doesn't really matter because they're neutrally enough aligned, and they stayed out of our way enough that they don't really cause any issues now. They're not really rocking the boat. And as far as it goes with what's going on in Iran, they're dangerous, they're highly unstable, it's a radical government. They're giving us an excuse now to go in and wipe the slate on them and pretty much set up a new government for them. And also, on top of that, we have to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon. It really isn't about them becoming a friend of ours in this kind of a particular instance. It's more about stopping them from threatening the deaths of millions of Americans in the future and also threatening our position in the Middle East right now. That's really the objective. If they become our friends, that's great. If they just remain neutral and indifferent to the United States, that's perfectly fine by me. That really would be the objective. If they ended up becoming hostile again, that would be the unexpected thing. And the chances of that would be highly unlikely in my opinion. But still, that is the situation that I'm looking at. But making them a friend, nah, that's not really the goal of this one. But still, huge thanks to you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And I hope that has addressed that well. And a very interesting question that you had as well. And I thank you for asking. A very interesting one. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we have a $30 super chat from Jenna, last name Tolls, who puts in that 30. And thank you very much, Jenna, for that 30 and helping keep the channel running as well. They said strong. And also, why the hell did we send all that equipment to Diego Garcia? This dude's driving me mad.
We sent it all to Diego Garcia because we were going to bomb the Iranians, and then we didn't. So, yeah, that's another good question. It's like, why in the world are we going to put all of our B-2s into a possibly vulnerable position where they could be open to attack in the middle of the open Indian Ocean just to, you know, I don't know, do nothing. It's like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, if we're going to move those B-2s there, we need to start bombing Iran. Like, that was honestly what we were moving towards, and it seemed quite clear that that was the case, and then we did a 180. And I honestly say that I'll be honest with y'all, I don't really say this a lot on air. I was all behind the president getting everyone ready to bomb and attack Iran. I was like, this is great. This is exactly what we've been needing to do for, 10, 12 years. We're finally doing it. And then he completed a reverse course literally at the 11th hour, and now we're doing the complete opposite. And we're doing what's not the best thing to do. And now I'm like, what the hell is he doing? What is he doing? Like, we were actually about to go in there and deal with them. We were going to forcibly denuclearize them. They weren't going to have a chance. And now we're going to give them a chance. It just drives me crazy. But I do thank you for the support, Jenna, last name Tulsa, and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $27 support from Cliff H. And thank you, Cliff, as well, for that support. He said, ultra crepidarian means to be talking out of the nether region. I think Marmot should use it in a sentence at some point.
In a Marmot?
He thinks the Marmot should use it in a sentence at some point, that word.
Well, I mean, we could go get the Marmot. We haven't gotten the Marmot in a while, actually. We haven't had the Marmot on screen for a good minute, so I think it's about time. Oh, hello there! Hey!
Oh, hello there, good sir. Good evening to you, good sir. It's been a long time since the fur has been brought out with the nice spitting blood out of the big teeth. It's been a long time and a fat tail. Look at that fat tail. Yeah, look at that. That thing is fat. Also, it's been a long time since we've seen the downfall of the Hot Dog Man's channel, but nobody may remember the Hot Dog Man's channel. It's been by the wayside for quite some time. But what's the fly got to say about it?
Aw, man, I'm in Washington, D.C. with my desk and a chair, and I'm here acting like I'm an important, although nobody knows who I am. Aw, man, it's time for me to really claim my place in the sun by talking to these interns. Aw, man.
Call him an intern, Governor. He's like Comintern. He's like living in that town of suffering and pain and agony. Poor thing. Look at him. Look at him. 1,000 views. That's not going to feed you in Comintern, I'm afraid.
Aw, man, I'm gonna have to go back to working as a carny full time. Aw, man.
Oh no, he's got to move back to Birmingham and become a Brummie. Oh dear, oh dear. It's some people say it's a shithole. That's what some people say. It's a terrible, terrible place. But for the hot dog man, it might be a perfect fit.
Aw, man, I'm gonna have to start covering rapper beefs and get really political again. Aw, man, just to make the bills, just to beat the bills, just to make 'em meet. Aw, man, it's terrible. Aw, man, it's awful. And I see someone in the chat, someone called Gulf of Matt, said, why does that literally sound exactly what he looks like? Aw, man, you wouldn't believe how familiar we got with this voice back in the day, years ago. Aw, man, he tried to destroy us, and now we get to watch him sit there in obscurity, and nobody knows who he is. Aw, man. And that
Also,
was
someone said, "Is that a bug? What is that thing?" That's a fly right there. It's an 8-legged fly right there, who typically is voiced by none other than the hot dog man himself.
Aw, man. And the Supreme Leader of Iran, really crazy to have him in here, said flies eat shit. And honestly, he's a wise leader for saying that. Like, and maybe we've given a lot of crap to the Supreme Leader of Iran when he actually was kind of a wise guy. But beyond that,
What do you have, some kind of wise guy or something?
look at me, half a wise guy. But still, it's a fun painting. And also, Matthew, can you use that in a sentence for the marmot?
Good sir, talking out of your nether regions, the ultra-crepidarian. Oh dear me, such an intellectual word. Call me Stephen Hawking, but I'm not figuring out the equation today, I'm afraid. Not good at math. But anyways, they say ultra-crepidarian, whatever that means. Talking out of the nether region, I'm told. But oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
I have found the secrets to the universe. Really? What is it? Watching midgets do math naked. Okay, I don't think that's it, Steven. Like, it's just
Doing
like
math naked. Oh dear, that might have caught the people's attention in math class a little bit. Or calculus. Carry the one. Oh dear, look at that. Oh dear, they're stripping. Oh no, that's not appropriate.
Oh yeah, baby, multiply that integer. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, get up on that little chair because you cannot reach the chalkboard. Oh yeah, look at you go, you little midget.
Oh dear, that sounds dreadful, actually.
Mr. Epstein, I need another 9 midgets.
Who? I'm sorry, who? I didn't catch the name.
I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to discuss that. My attorney has told me not to continue. Like, but anyways, I do want to point this out. This is something some people might find interesting. You can drop down in any area of Russia, mind you, and you can actually find a pretty crappy town. Y'all want to see? Y'all are doubting me? Let's go. Sharia.
Oh dear. Oh.
Ugh. Dude, it's like one road through town's paved. Like, you can tell what roads are paved and not because the Google Streetcar only goes down paved roads.
Yeah, it's tough, actually. I didn't even know they had a Google Streetcar driving around these parts of Russia.
Ooh! Oh, dude, these people still live like peasants from like the 19th century. No joke. Like, they actually do.
Yeah, like the bourgeoisie or the proletariat. I mean, don't call them commies, but they're living like rats.
Man. I mean, look at that car. Looks like an off-brand Peugeot.
I mean, don't call it a Peugeot, but looks like it could be something straight out of the crap factory.
Looks like something that you get at Paris Island. Oh,
Is that standard issue? I mean, that look like a pair of Oakleys, but
what
could
the
be some
hell?
gloves.
What the hell is this? They got
Dang, this is
this.
nice, actually. This honestly looks like the middle of Mississippi for some reason.
Dude, it does. It does, doesn't it? It really does. In the middle of nowhere. What is that? What do they have a street?
That looks like a company town.
Bro, that does look like a company town. What the hell? Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, what's this look like up here? Oh my god. That's
dear,
the road!
why's the fence red?
Bro, look at that fence. It's really red. Like a commie. Whoa.
I mean, they said they were going to paint the fence red, and I thought he meant literally, but they actually did.
They said they were going to paint the town red, and they just settled on the fence. Whoa. Oh my god, dude. This looks like the Borat town where he went back to Kazakhstan. He's like, very nice, I'm in Kazakhstan. It's like, literally, that's this place. Oh my god, this is terrible. It's
a very crap. It's a very shit.
I can't believe that they just, like, this shows y'all how poor Russia is. They can't even pave most of the roads. Like, they're just, like, packed dirt or less than that. Like, that's honestly insane. Almost every road in America is paved. Shows you the wealth disparity there. But, you know, as Tucker Carlson said, the groceries are cheap, so obviously our argument is moot, because yes, you'll be living in shit like a peasant from the 19th century, but the groceries are like a third of the price, and you're also making a fifth less of what an American makes, so, you know, it kind of all works in the end. You know, honestly, y'all, I don't even think, like, some people have tried to make Tucker Carlson into a political person. At this point, I just honestly say the guy's a traitor. Like, I don't think you can really listen to Tucker Carlson and believe anything he says, because he was against us bombing Iran. Like what a bitch, really, you know, like Iran wants to kill Americans. They're creating a nuclear bomb to do it. They could end up killing plenty of Americans if they create an ICBM to go with it, which they will. And this guy is going to be the absolute bitch of the century and then say that we shouldn't bomb the Iranians and we shouldn't stop them from making a nuclear weapon. I mean, honestly, I gotta be wondering at this point, who in the hell is paying this guy to say this stupid stuff? Because he sure as hell isn't coming up with the stuff on his own. He's got to have someone like sponsoring him to say this stuff, because it is just anti-American to the umpteenth degree. Like it's not even like, some people want to make it sound like it's like ultra nationalist or something. It's not even nationalist. I mean, honestly, the guy is like a sellout to his country. He's like the Jane Fonda of the 21st century. He'll sell out America for a couple of bucks, and he also has that stupid laugh that he does. You know, that thing, and it's just so obnoxious. And then he actually is getting down to the bottom of shit when he doesn't even know what he's talking about. Like, the guy is just stupid. Like, honestly, and I believe he's a traitor to the United States, 100%. Like, you can take that and run with it to the bank. And also someone said, you're an idiot. No, Tucker is. He's the idiot because he's the sellout.
Oh my god.
Oh my lord. Come on, give me a break. I'm an idiot for being a patriot of the United States. Well, call me an idiot all day then, because I'm not going to stop being a patriot. So if patriots are idiots, I'm 100% an idiot. So anyways, with that, it's just ridiculous stuff these days, folks. I think you point out traitors of the United States, and you got someone like with a name like The Reckoning, like they really brought it down on me. Sitting there and calling me an idiot for pointing out a traitor to the country. I mean, that's the state of the thing these days. You can't even point out traitors without people acting like they actually care for the country. Like, Tucker would sell you into Iranian slavery for $5 and a corn dog. Like, I promise you that. Like, if you actually think you're standing up for that guy, no, I promise you, he would sell you out for a Zen packet, and he wouldn't even think twice about it.
Oh man, not the Zen.
Not the Zen. Not the Zen. Oh my god. Oh, dude. Like, and also someone said he's paid by Russian state TV. Hell no, he's not. I don't even know who's paying him. It's got to be a myriad of people. Because when you think about it, it's like, why is he shilling for Iran? Like, who's paying him to do that? Like it's like, let's think about it. Is he a believer of the Islamic Republic of Iran's ideology? No. So why does he like him? Is he an American? Yes. Well, they want to kill him by default then, because he's an American. What in the world does he have? What is the reason he has for standing up for Iran? What is the reason behind that? And what reason did he have for standing up with for Russia against the United States?
Because he decides to be a contrarian. Oh!
And he's not even good at it, man, because his arguments are shit. Like, it's like, why should we stop them? It's like, I don't know, because they're like highly unstable and they want to kill us, probably. I mean, like, that's probably the reason why. Dude, I wonder how far that would work for him if he had like an armed home invader come into his house. Like, his wife would be like, stop him. Why? What are you, a part of the globalist elite? You want to stop him from getting wealthy? Oh, it's like, what's the argument?
You know, his whole shtick is this. He waits to see what the popular opinion is going to be about something. Like, for example, if most Americans are against Russia because Russia wants to invade European countries and most of America says, okay, Russia's bad. Tucker sees that and he goes, I see a business opportunity. I'm going to pretend like I have the real answers and everybody's wrong and only I have the real answers. And all these crazy conspiracy theorists are like, Tucker has the answers. Yes, he does. He knows what's really going on. We should actually love Russia. Being the contrarian is like his shtick. That's like his whole thing. If he didn't take the opposite stance, he wouldn't have any unique knowledge. And his knowledge is just made up bullcrap, honestly. It's just whatever runs at the moment to make people watch. It's stupid.
Dude, I like the one though on the Putin interview, man, where Putin was like, "Yes, you see, I have this map from the 16th century that was made by people who probably didn't even know how wide the world really was here, and it shows Ukraine doesn't exist on this map. What is up with that?" It's like, yeah, if you pull up a map from like 1943, Poland doesn't exist, and neither does France. It was a part of Germany. So does Germany have like a claim for like the next several thousand years that they actually control Poland and France because a map in 1943 showed that they did? Like, what's the argument behind that? It's like, what are you like? It's like, I didn't get the whole thing. And then he was like, and then Tucker was acting like it was profound. He was like, really? And then like he would sit there and go, wow, Putin, you're wise. And Putin would go, yes, and you're also a clown bitch who doesn't do news. You're more of a comedian and clown from circus. And then Tucker would be like, wow, so profound. Yeah, and he would laugh at it or something. He'd laugh at it, dude. Yeah, I'll be like, what did you say? I'll be like, I don't care if you're like the leader of this country or not, or I'm about to get shot. What did you say?
No, you wouldn't have. No,
dude,
you wouldn't
honestly,
have. Hell no.
Honestly, man, I would have never put myself in that position though.
Hell no.
But he did, and then he got pimped out.
Do it.
And then he got pimped out, and then he came back and acted like he didn't get pimped out. And also another thing, man, he was like, let's look at a grocery store in Moscow. It's like Moscow is the home of the elite. It's like it's the wealthiest city in Russia. So like that's like saying, let's go to Jackson Hole, Wyoming and see how an average American lives. Or let's go to the Beverly Hills and see how an average American lives. It's like, obviously it's going to look good, because it's one of the nicest places in their country. Why don't you go to an average place? He didn't show y'all an average place. That's what him and those contrarian elites want you to think. But he didn't take you to real Russia, where the roads are made of dirt and the people live like peasants.
Tucker Carlson rolled up to Beverly Hills in Moscow and rolled up to like a random house. Said, let's go see what a Russian Moscow citizen lives like. Knocks on the door. Brad Pitt answers the door. Yeah, how can I help you? He's like, oh, so you're just a random civilian. Like, why you have a Ferrari in the driveway? You have a mansion? Is this how you all live? Yeah, that's right. That's how we all live here in Moscow. As a FSB guy standing right behind him.
Man, and he would be like, wow, how magical. See, this is what y'all are missing out on in America. This is why dictatorships are good, or something like that. It's like, what? It's like, no, like, that's why we should rip up the Constitution and piss on the Founding Fathers. It's like, what? Why are you out of your damn mind? It's like, honestly, man.
Oh. Also, by the way, I forgot to mention this. I was going to mention it earlier. Did you happen to see that clip of the CNN reporter going to some like arms show or something in Russia, and Victor Boot just happened to wander out from the back like corner? Did you see that? By the way?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, somehow some CNN reporter just happened to run across Victor Boot, who's the Merchant of Death. We traded that WNBA player for Victor Boot, and we let him out of prison and got the football or the basketball player back. So this CNN reporter walked into this arms expo. Victor Boot just happens to walk out from the back, and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, hey sir, would you do an interview?" He was like, "Do you know who I am?" "Oh yeah, we do know who you are, sir." Like, "What do you think about this war? Is the United States understanding Russia, or who's misunderstanding who?" He said, "Listen, I think that that everybody's misunderstanding Russia. Russia is such a good place. I'm just a misunderstood man. That's all. I've been so misunderstood my whole life. I just want nothing but health and happiness for people. That's all."
Would you like to buy this AK while we're at this arm expo, like talking about this?
Yeah, the dude's like armed like the worst groups of all time. He's just like a kid in the candy store on the side of a street or something like that. "I'm just totally innocent. I've never done nothing to nobody. Free my man. Let him free." It's
Dude, it's kind of like Dennis Rodman coming back from North Korea right after Kim Jong-un killed Unk, and he's honestly just misunderstood. It's like, do you really think he's misunderstood, or did he just execute Unk? Like, it's like, which one did he do? Like, because I think he executed Unk, and I don't really think he's misunderstood. But
Bro, I think Dennis Rodman was just like overwhelmed by the fact that so many people were cheering for him. He just totally overlooked everything. He said, "I was amazed when everybody started just cheering for this man." I said, "Who is this man? Why is everybody cheering for him?" He said, "He's something about he's a supreme leader." I said, "That's a nice title he's got right there." And everybody just acted like they were crying, like they were so scared to death. I didn't understand why, but they just love him that much. But no, they don't love him that much. They're scared to death because they're actually scared to death.
You know what, Matthew? While we were chit-chatting about all of this, I was looking for a Russian store, and I just found one. It's the rip-off IKEA, same colors and everything. They call it a Metro. Let's take a gander.
Metro, yeah. It looks kind of like a Aldi.
It looks like a mix of an Aldi, an IKEA, and a Costco.
That yellow ain't doing it.
No. Honestly, for this to be in the middle of Moscow, this kind of looks like shit.
This looks like a Lowe's a little bit too.
Dude, it's like selling like groceries. It's like, why does it look like this? Look, they're selling bread and stuff, and it looks like a Lowe's. Like you're about to pick up some lumber in here or something. Wow. Russia. Magic. What the? Oh my god, that is actually like a giant watermelon.
What's that price right there? 99.90 rubles?
That's
what does
a
that
dollar.
translate to?
That's $1.
That's $1?
Yeah, that's $1.
Wow, that's a cheap, fat watermelon.
Or is it that watermelon, or is it the watermelon to the left? That's the normal-sized watermelon.
It could be the one to the left. This could be soft propaganda.
Yeah, I think this is soft propaganda. Let's see. Oh, yes, the pallets in the middle of the floor that still haven't been unpacked. This is truly how great Russia is, folks. Let's swap out our democracy for a dictatorship so that way we can have the shit piling up on the floor because no one will unpack it. Let's see here. Oh, they got Christmas stuff. Honestly, this looks like garbage. What does a store look like in, say, like a big city, like Seattle or something? What does it look like up there? Can we find... What common brands, man, pull this up. In the Northwest, what are the common grocery store brands so that way we can try and pull one up? Safeway. I saw a lot of those. Are you sure that's like a kind of like a, grocery store, or is that more of like a gas station kind of a thing?
No, it's a grocery store.
Safeway Market. This looks like one. So let's take a gander. Are you sure?
Nah, that's Safeway, bro.
Yeah, that's not Safeway.
Brand, great value ass.
Yeah, I was about to be like, that doesn't look like the stores I was seeing out there, man. Like, okay.
Bro, not Safeway. I'm talking about Safeway.
So this is Safeway. 4-star reviews. So this is what a store looks like in the inner city of Seattle. Let's take a gander. This looks so much better.
This looks like Publix, basically.
Honestly, it kind of does. It looks like that Greenwise, Huh. It does look nice, though. I will give it that.
Yeah, I like this.
How much are the watermelons here? Bro, you're getting ripped off in Russia. You're paying $1 for a watermelon over there. You're paying 69 cents in Seattle for a watermelon.
That's honestly super cheap, like even for like America.
See? Even the groceries are cheap. Oh, look at this. Oh, the cakes.
Oh, that cake.
Dude, they got that cake too. Like, gotta have them ribs. And that cake too. But they got soup. Honestly, man, this place, how much is the soups? $4. That's honestly like Walmart prices down here for the soups. Those soups are like overpriced all the time. Dude, this is actually like, they've actually got some pretty good variety up in the store. I'm liking this. I'm digging this. What are these? Oh my god, it's a mega pack of Hershey's.
And 50% off, too. It must mean it's about to expire.
Must mean so, yeah. I wonder what I can't find a price on that. But this is the difference in between a nice store in Moscow and a nice store in Seattle, which isn't even the capital of the country, and it isn't even really, like, I don't know if it's the nicest or not city in the United States, but, oh, dude, look at this.
Man, Safeway's so good, they got people posing with the bag at the front door.
Bro, like, what is up with that, though? I was about to ask about that. I was like, why is this
Is that a cardboard poster?
I think that might be a cardboard poster, yeah. Why? That's kind of creepy. I'm not going to lie, man. That's actually kind of creepy. That's like Uncanny Valley sort of stuff. But this is a cool story, actually. Pretty cool. Didn't expect it to be this nice. Dude, I passed so many Safeways while I was up there, and I was always like, what the hell is a Safeway?
Wait a minute. This is W Republican Street. It's a big win. W.
We're taking back Seattle.
Most unexpected street in Seattle, I'll be honest with you.
We're taking back Seattle. We called it West Republican Street. Honestly, West Republican Street. I didn't go through here. Not that bad, though. Not that bad. Kind of looking a little dry, like a little drought-like, but still behind that. Not that bad. Not that bad. Oh, what's this guy? This guy's Drake. We got Drake on the side of a electrical box. But, oh, look at that. It's Putin's favorite restaurant, Dick's Drive-In. What's the Golden Olive, though? What does this look like? Bro, this looks like the place I had that Euro, no joke. Like, that's honestly almost just like it.
It looks pretty tasty.
Oh, that picture's tiny. Why is it larger over on the left than it is on the main screen? Make that make sense. That looks good though. Honestly, that looks just like
yeah.
Bro, this place looks fire. Dude, this is fire. This is the same kind of a thing, man, that I had at the other place. What else do they have in this area? What pastries? Nielsen's pastries. What is this like? Authentic Danish pastries. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to. Oh, buddy, they got the good stuff, and they've got not to shit on Denmark, but they got one asshole, at least one. Like it's like we know of them. But you know who I'm talking about, man. You know who I'm talking about.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Oh, you know who it is. Honestly, the inside's pretty neat. Like they got like Danish
look at that.
posters.
That's yeah. It feels like you're actually in like a Danish house, like right there or something. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Honestly, man, I would like to see some of these places. Sometime around. That'd be cool. What else do we have? Moon Tree Sushi and Top. That sounds interesting. Let's take a gander. Oh, this place has got it rocket. What's up with that picture? This place. What the hell's up with the pictures? Oh, there we go. This place is rocking, dude. This place looks cool.
It looks like it could be somewhat pricey.
What are up with the big fish? Hello.
Look at that second fish though. It looks like a real mean piece of work.
Man, this is your average Ukrainian fish. Nice, happy. This is your average Russian fish. Angry, pissed off, living in shit. Like it's odd. It's sad. But
stupid fish.
Damnable fish. But this place looks cool. I wonder what the prices are like. $30 to $50. Well, I'd expect that.
Yep, I knew it.
Yeah, those sushi places are always expensive. They always get you. This is a Mexican restaurant. $20 to $30. That's actually not that far from how much it costs to eat around here. So this looks good. This looks really good.
I'm not gonna lie, that does look pretty tasty, but the portions look small.
But are they small? Yeah, they look a little small. But it looks good. Honestly, man, that's I think like the downtown areas are going to be like the small portions. We need to go out into the outskirts. We need to go to Bothell. What do they got in Bothell? Let's see. Ranch Drive-In fast food. Oh, this is a fast food restaurant?
Huh, that's interesting. It's like burgers. Well, wait a minute. Whoa.
Whoa.
Go back. Go back to that picture.
Did they just put ketchup on a paper tissue?
And the paper. What the hell?
Yeah, I can't get behind that one, man. I can't get behind it. And this was posted literally just like this month, this time of year. Like whoever did this, I don't know why. That's terrible, honestly. Oh, look at that! Look at that ice cream.
Oh wow, it's been dipped.
They've gone in the dip. Honestly, man, I'm getting hungry for real. But let's see. The cottage. What does the American food look like around here? Ooh, flatbreads. Pretty cool. I don't know what that is. We'll pass on that. Honestly, man, that looks like that SpongeBob burger that he made that like killed the health inspector. Like that kind of looks like that.
It's a pesto egg with like something on top, like Brussels sprouts or something, on top of a bed of crispy fried onions and also kielbasa sausage. Looks like.
I don't know if that would be good or bad. It sounds like it might be a kind of like mid. That looks all right. Honestly, man, like this isn't looking that hot, really. Like, let's see here. What else? Oh, Sushi Zone. Let's see. So see, it's $20 to $30 here. It's not $30 to $50. But what does the sushi look like? Bro, this honestly looks better.
It looks pretty good to me.
Bro, look at that. Dude, honestly, man. this looks like the bomb. And look at this. Look at this restaurant here.
Bro, bro, that lady does not want to have a picture taken right there.
All right, then. All right, then. Dude, this looks killer good, though. This looks great. Look at that.
That does look pretty tasty.
Man, tasty period. Vkutsna i tochka. But still, anyways, enough of food. I'm getting starving, and we're gonna starve to death over here and all that, and I'm gonna get very sad. What does the food look like in Dallas? You know what? We might as well take some time. Where would you recommend to go look in Dallas, Matthew? Where will we look?
In Dallas, do you want to go see like the nice area, the middle of the road area, the bad area?
I want to see the nice area, eh?
Go to Legacy West, yes, Bliad. Zoom into the North Dallas next to the Colony to the right. Yeah, zoom in up there at the Fork Roads. Yeah, right there. See Stonebriar Mall at the bridges, Bliad. Zoom into that region. Yes. Now grab the men. Okay, now put him down near Parkwood Boulevard, yes?
Where is the Parkwood Boulevard, eh?
To the left of the Stonebriar Mall, Bliad. Yes, set him down. Set him down gently now. So this leads into the nice place. Go behind you. Drive down the street. Straight. Go straight.
It's like I'm driving a car, eh?
Keep driving. Put the pedal down to the floor.
F that red light. Hey, pull over. Screw you, cop. Like, it's a Japanese. Where are restaurants, eh? We want to see a restaurant, eh?
Drive down the street. I think I told you to go too far north. Go down the street. Keep driving. Don't be a slowpoke.
I'm trying, man. It's so hard, man. Like, honestly. Try to chase this
out. Okay, here you go. Another Grumman is one street to the left.
That's not a restaurant. Like, that's not a restaurant, dude.
It depends on if you snack on nice Predator drones, Bliad. If you snack on the Predator, you're right over there. Or you could be in prison.
Yo.
Frisco Railroad. They do have the railroad up here in Frisco.
The St. Louis and San Francisco Railway. Holy moly, folks. It's freaking legendary, people. Freaking legendary. But yeah, I think we're going into the wilderness now.
I don't know why, but for some reason, it does not look good from the street view today.
It does not look good. No, it was not looking good.
It looks good, though. When I saw it in the person and the eyeballs, it looked very good.
So where are some mom and pop shop restaurants around here that aren't major chain restaurants like Nukes and Schlotsky's and stuff?
I know nothing about the mom and the pop. All I know is about the chain restaurants.
Gloria's Latin cuisine. Let's take a gander.
Somebody said something about exposing the devil here. No, wrong place. You saw that in the chat. Some crazy ass bot come in here talking about trouble.
Shadow Wizard Money Gang, are we exposing the devil? Here. No, band. Bro, that was the devil. But what are up with the pictures, dude? Why are the pictures not loading? I'm not gonna lie, dude, this doesn't look that good.
It does not look very nice. It looks like a rat pellet.
Ratatouille. Ratatouille.
It's a pate of a rat pellet.
we take the rat crap and we press it together into a nice cake. So this is Chinese.
Oh, yes. Okay, that does not look Chinese.
This look like you get the chow mein dog and you squish his head with finger. Very nice. Oh, a dumpling. It's a video we not play. We very scared of video and play. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is not looking that good. I'm not gonna lie, man. Seattle food looks busting. While Dallas food is a kind of a rough. Let's just pizza. A pizza. Let's take a look at the pizza.
Oh, yeah.
This is the most generic looking. What the hell, dude? Like, honestly, like, I thought there was going to be good food here.
I'll be honest with you. I'm really not sure where to tell you where to find the mom and pop stuff. Is I really didn't frequent the mom and pop places when I was out here. I frequent Chipotle.
The mom and pop places are the places to go, man, because they got the good food. And here's another Italian restaurant. So they got the rigatonis and stuff. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, the food out here is it's kind of iffy. Like, that looks good, but
that looks pretty good.
That looks all right. I mean, it's the first thing. That looks like it might be all right. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like, I honestly expected there was gonna be more good food out here. Oh, there's a kava. The kava is never bad. But let's see. Dang, dude. Let's take a look at this Mexican restaurant. Dude, the interior is bumping. Like, but let's see here. Okay, that looks like Taco Bell. Bro, I don't even think that picked up. Like, I heard you out there and it didn't even pick up, dude. Like, one bit. But any pictures of the food?
I think they took all the money of the investment and stuck it in the restaurant interior, but they did not invest in the vegetables.
Or the food. We get no pictures of the food. You want the picture of food? No food for you. Oh my god, dude. Like, come on. That's like Taco Bell food. That is literally a Taco Bell burrito, dude. That is the grilled steak cheese burrito right there. Exactly. Like, almost down to a T.
I'll be honest, I'm a simple person. I don't get too picky. I eat the chain restaurants and I'm very happy.
I like to have a good food, and a chain restaurant get old, very old. I do not like it too much. But beyond that, let's take a look at the Boca Raton. Let's see what the food they have in the Boca Raton. Where in the world is the food in the Boca Raton? They have the pollo.
You don't know nothing. You know nothing. You could go straight to Margaritaville. Oh, no, excuse me. Let's go to what's the state? What's the Palm Beach? What the hell is the name? You know what I'm talking about? You know, Mar-a-Lago. Go straight to Mar-a-Lago and get a nice food at the Mar-a-Lago.
Where is the Mar-a-Lago? Where do we find it?
It's down the way in West Palm Beach.
Where do we find it? West Palm Beach?
The wrong way.
Wrong way. It's a further than north. You will lie to me. I make me very sad. The breakers.
The breakers. That's not Mar-a-Lago.
That's where the mafia break their kneecap. They bring them into a building, hit them with a baseball bat on the knee. Where in the world is the Mar-a-Lago? Must be somewhere around here.
There it is.
The Mar-a-Lago. Do they have a restaurant in the Mar-a-Lago, huh? Do they have it? Huh? Why does this look like the Dr. Seuss Horton Here's a Hua house? I never really looked at the building, but now I'm looking at it and I don't really know if I like it or not. This is a little rough. Oh, the inside is very nice actually, very nice.
I'll be honest with you, it's not really my thing, like this type of decor. But to say the place is only worth $5 million, that's a bit of a stretch, I think, because I think pretty much everything on this island of Palm Beach right here. Oh wow, look at that Lamborghini Diablo. Go down one more picture.
Oh, look at that.
Oh wow, that's like the one that he used to have actually. That yellow looking Diablo right there. There's another one in black right next to it. That's crazy.
This looks like a sheet. I bet you it costed like a $50 for this dessert plate, and it looks like it might have costed $15. Honestly, a little bit of a ripoff. Where else is the food? I want to look at the food. Honestly, this place though being $5 million, it is a bit of a stretch, honestly, because that looks like it's well worth more than $5 million. But oh well. Oh, look at McLaren.
That's a McLaren P1. That's a wait a minute. That's actually a 7.6. That's a 7 something LT. I think. I don't know.
And we have a man out here.
God.
Much like the cars, his body is built for nothing but the performance. He can put down the tray of a food in a 5 second raw performance. Really an impressive thing. But beyond that, oh my goodness, we are going to pass the picture. People get very violent. People see a man with an orange face and they get very angry. Don't know why. You know, he's just kind of a guy. You know, nothing to be angry about. You know, oh, look at the Italian car. Look at that. It's an Italian.
Oh wow. That right there is, I believe, a race car version of a Lamborghini. That's one of the race car ones. Man, these are some nice collection of cars here. I'm not gonna lie, like this is a nice collection.
Some nice cars, but I can already tell you by looking at the people and the way they are dressed, they be a very fake people. Very fake people. You not want to be around them a single moment. We've been around the people like that, Matthew. We lived around them for a couple of years, and they were never the nicer people. Never the nicer people. Very mean. Very, very mean. Two-faced. Two-faced is what they call them. They have a one face here, and then they have another face there. Totally different people. Le Club.
Oh, wait a minute. Go up one picture from Le Club. There's a Mercedes SL 300, I think. Something like that. That looks pretty nice. Pretty nice. Oh, wait a minute. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, stop the picture here. I see a Lamborghini STO back there. I see, wait a minute. Is that the Lamborghini truck like the first one? Zoom in the picture right there. Zoom in. That white truck in the background. That is a Lamborghini truck, like one of the first ones they made. Not that new thing, that Urus thing. That is actually one of the first like truck Lamborghinis ever made. That's actually very rare.
I've got to say, I don't know shit about the Lamborghini truck, but that is a ugly truck. Don't really like it too much. But beyond that, do we have any
There's a
picture?
Bugatti over there on the right. There's a Bugatti. I believe that's not the Chiron. That's the Bugatti Veyron, I think.
Over there, the black and the white one.
Yeah, it's in that two color one. I don't like that.
I don't like it either. It makes me feel a little too formal. You know, it's not my thing. But what the hell is the food? That's all we came here for. Where is the food? Like, they have a restaurant in here and they don't show the food. It honestly is disappointing. Pool party without anyone in the pool. Honestly, a disgrace. Oh, look at this. More food. What the hell? What is this, an all-you-can-eat buffet? I thought you got served at these nice places, you know? Like, all right, well. Oh, look at that. Matthew would like
Oh,
this.
wow. That is a Pagani Huayra BC, I think. Very nice. One of the first all carbon fiber cars that's ever been made. And Pagani made that car because he got kicked out of Lamborghini because Lamborghini didn't see his vision. So he went over here and created this and bought a massive autoclave to start making these carbon fiber, what they call, and people are going to laugh, carbon fiber monocoque type design here.
Is that the award? He said the cock.
It's all in one piece, but it's a very nice. It's powered by, I believe, an AMG Mercedes engine. But man, these things sound good. They're so good, but they're crazy expensive.
Oh, man, and I'm telling you, the food here looks kind of shit. This is a plate. You get one shrimp, one crab claw, 2 tiny pieces of a sushi, and also these little pieces, and also some cocktail sauce and a little tiny of a piece of a caviar. Honestly, if they are eating like this, they will starve to death. That is not a food. That is a snack.
That is a snack, is?
That is a... What in the hell? Oh, no, you gotta be
Pork
kidding
chop.
me. That's just pork, dude. That's just like little cuts of pork. I wonder how much this is costing, man, because that... dude, that was honestly a disgrace. That's not even food. That's literally just like a taste. Oh my god. Honestly, this is so pretentious to be getting no food at all. Like, honestly, this is annoying.
Mr. Deesa said, you love the cars in the Florida. You look but they don't attach. Somehow I have a way of talking myself into the driver's seat of these cars sometimes. I have to drive. I say, please drive. I have no insurance, but let me in the driver's seat. I promise I will not crash. I'm not a Richard Hammond.
I'm not gonna do a thing. Oh, it's a restricted area.
Oh, look. Hey, look at that. That's a Secret Service sign, actually, right there, I think.
It is.
That's kind of unique.
All right. Well, that's very interesting. Oh, look at this. You get the tinier burger, smaller than a cigar. One bite and it's gone.
I've always wanted to I've always wanted to try one of those cigars, not to become like an addict of like smoking or something like that. But there's something like always cool about the cigars. I just wanted to like try it, but I don't want to get hooked on nicotine, so I'm not.
You know, Matthew, we could always be like those people we knew. We could pretend that we are a real big shot and smoke a shitty cigar and take a picture of it as we do it, you know?
I mean, you could. I mean, but those are just like water vapor ones.
No, we could be a pose, or we could get the real one, you know? We could go get the real cigar and go to the smoke. But I'll be honest with you, man. I'll be honest with you. We need to find the food. That's what we were here for. We were here looking for the food. Oh, look, we have a... What is this? I'm gonna have to stop doing that voice. I'm getting tired of it. But, what is this? Wait, is that fried shrimp?
That looks like calamari.
Kind of does look like calamari.
That's onion rings and toast.
In meatball sauce with meatballs. I don't know about that. Honestly, this food looks a little too abstract for my liking.
Honestly, go back for a second. What's the hotel situation look like here? Is that a Hilton on the left?
Here?
No, like over here on the left, bottom left corner. It says, what does that look like? What are the hotel prices?
$643 a night. Holy
damn,
smokes.
son! What the hell? This place better be damn nice.
It looks all right.
Provisions. It says right there.
Oh, you know,
it's
this is
like,
a little
gonna be expensive.
A little too posh. Like, honestly, it looks nice. It looks nice. It looks a little corporate to me, but yeah, it's corporate. That's the corporate art style. Ugh, I don't like corporate art. It's all right. Also, Matthew, how many super chats do we have left?
We have approximately 24 left.
Whoa, that's honestly a lot of them. We'll look at one more restaurant, and then we're moving on. So we got to pick a good one, Matthew. Health food. I don't know about this place. Let's
Wait a
take a
minute.
look.
Okay, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Don't waste your time with that. Go to the island over there where it says Palm Beach. Oh, that's toward the coast. Yeah, zoom in here. Go down. Put the man down.
Right
Put
here?
him down. Yeah, let him down. There you go. Now go down that way.
This looks like 38.
Yeah, this is nice over here. This is actually very unaffordable on this part of Palm Beach over here. As I've looked, this is very expensive. Like you can get small little boxes like you get in New York, like for an apartment, and you'll be paying like 5,000-6,000 a month for like 600 square feet or something like that. It's insanely expensive.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. This kind of looks like Rosemary Beach on 38. No joke. It looks just like it, and that's not even that expensive. Like, let's go up there and take a reference. So this is 30A, and this Rosemary Beach. So this is the place. This is the highway through 30A. Yeah, so there's Seagrove. So you go down here, and I think it's like a place like, I think it's this place in particular right here.
I saw somebody throw hands at this beach one time.
See, man, honestly, this place looks as nice. And it's not as expensive.
Well, don't think they have anywhere to rent here. Like honestly, I've never really paid attention to it, but they don't really have like rentals like for apartments and stuff in this place.
So let's go down here. Let's take a see. Like this honestly almost has like a similar feel. Like honestly, it's a little bit nicer because there's more greenery. I don't know, man. Like I don't know. Like
It's fascinating. The same people that designed or worked on Mountain Brook in Birmingham, Alabama, which is not where we live. We live way down the way from Mountain Brook. But the same people that designed Mountain Brook, they helped design 30A and they helped build it.
Huh, that's interesting. Also, man, just to let you know, man, because Matthew and me have been talking about some places to put Enforcer HQ 3.0, and one of the places is kind of Miami. And I've been telling Matthew, like, Miami, like, not Miami, the city, but the metropolitan area, which is, all the way from West Palm Beach down, was built on the swamp. And Matthew was like, no, it wasn't. Here's the swamp right there. The North New River Canal is the divider between there and the swamp. This is what it looks like on that edge. Like, that is the end of the city, the beginning of the swamp.
Well, they've been trying to drain the swamp, but I'm not sure if they can. I could be a swamp creature.
Maybe you're not a swamp creature. Honest, you're not a swamp
airboat
creature.
tours. They have airboat tours out here in the Everglades. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, dude.
Is this where those deadly snakes live? In here?
Yeah, this is where all of those exotic pets were dropped off, and they started to multiply a little too quick. That's where they're all at. It's in this giant swamp.
No, they probably keep them out. Like I have a feeling there's a fence or something up where they keep them out. Like they probably don't let the snakes come into town or something like that. But if there was one or two, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Honestly, man, I don't know about this place. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Boca Raton, Palm Beach, Jupiter, and then up the way. It looks pretty nice to me. I think it looks pretty good. The acreage.
This place.
Huh.
This is like suburb hell. Look at that street layout.
Whoa, look at that.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyways, it's time for us to get on to the remainder of our questions. Also, by the way, for the people who are coming in 3 hours after the show started and asking, where's that nuclear fire? It's at the beginning of the stream. So just, please be kind. Please rewind. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, someone said it. Someone said, The snakes want to party, and you gotta tell them no. Honestly, you gotta tell them no. And we're used to dealing with snakes because the snakes in Alabama, especially rural Alabama, is horrific. I can't tell you how many rattlesnakes and how many rat snakes, and not really rat snakes. I'll usually let those be, but rattlesnakes, chop them up, hit them with a car, all kinds of stuff. Like those things are mean as hell and deadly. Those rattlesnakes are. No, they're a very aggressive snake, and we've dealt with lots of them, so it wouldn't be anything new. And pythons aren't even venomous, so that's like nothing. That's a wimp. That snake right there. What a jerk. But anyways, moving on to our next one here. This one goes to Ari Soini, who puts in a $50 donation, and thank you very much, Ari, for that $50 support. That's massive, by the way, and huge shout to the Kiwi Wife and Finn for making that happen. And it said, LSA, nice work, and live chat, please.
And I got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep it running. Thank you for enjoying our work, and we will make sure to get a live chat question in your honor. So what do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
And in honor of Ari's very generous super chat, this live chat question is going to go to Christopher Russell, who says, why doesn't the U.S. have any high-speed trains in a quick nutshell?
We do have a high-speed train. It's in the Northeast. It's called the Acela, and we're about to replace it with the Avalia Liberty. At some point eventually. When is that? I don't know, but it will be eventually. But beyond that, we have high-speed trains. Problem is that most of the country doesn't have the population density required for high-speed rail to be profitable, although there are areas where it can be. We just don't develop them because we are very car-heavy, and there's also this thing called the lobbyists, and the giant car companies have these really cool lobbyists that give out loads and loads of campaign money to people who will guarantee that they will continue to make sure that the car reigns supreme. And there's also a couple of other people, like this magic guy called Elon, who's trying to sell these crazy things called electric cars, and they don't want the train to succeed because it starts to impact their profit margins. Because what the hell, like if there's a diversified transportation industry in this country that isn't just commercial airliners and cars, there's actually a competitor, a new one called trains that used to exist. They're going to go, what about our profit margins? And then there might be a problem there, so they make sure to kind of not do that or allow that for the large part. So with that, I hope that does address that somewhat well, and I thank you once again for sponsoring this that live chat and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
Also, everybody's talking about the pythons are worse than the rattlesnakes. I'll be honest with you. I'm much more concerned about a venomous snake than I am a non-venomous one. Like, I know the pythons have a lot of power, but I've dealt with the venomous snakes for too long. Like, I really can't stand them. I've kicked a copperhead before. Luckily, it didn't bite. The copperhead was honestly kind of chill. Like, I actually appreciate that. It didn't actually bite me when I accidentally kicked one, which was great because those things are pretty poisonous. But the rattlesnakes, so if you ever kick that, they're going to bite like 100%. They're always going to bite. But I just don't like the venomous snakes. I'd rather deal with other ones than those because I've dealt with them my whole life, and those were just a menace. Everywhere you walk, you gotta be paranoid. But anyways, jumping into our next one here. This one goes to let's see, what in the world? Let's see. Are you seeing this one, Forrester? It starts with a KNI. Are you seeing this one? It's near the top.
Let's see.
20 euro.
20. I just read it off, but I wouldn't read the name.
Okay, I don't know about the name. I'm scared of the name, but thank you very much for that $20 euro support. They said, satire aside, meaning the name, I love your logical down-to-earth streams. Europe, Heart USA. Wherever we are together, and finally managed to be in stream from Austria, 4 a.m. And do you think shit's going to hit the fan at some point soon?
Hey, thank you for the support all the way from Austria. And will it hit the fan soon? I'm not entirely sure. I have a feeling at this point it may eventually, but I think we're still about 2 years or further down the pipe from it actually hitting the fan. But I do thank you for the kind words and the support and helping this channel to keep it running all the way from Austria. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Gunfox, who puts in 2 $20 super chats. And thank you very much, Gunfox, for the 2 $20 supports. And we appreciate that. He has 2 days in history. The first one says 4/12/1782, battle at Les Santos. The British fleet under Admiral George Rodney defeats the French fleet. 1811, the first U.S. colonists on the Pacific coast arrive in Washington. 1862, Union troops occupy Fort Pulaski, Georgia. And question from the chat. Also, 1861, Fort Sumter in South Carolina is attacked by the Confederacy, beginning the American Civil War. 12/21/68, the Apollo 8 was the first crewed spacecraft to leave Earth's gravitational sphere of influence and reach lunar orbit.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support and helping the channel to keep it running. Fort Pulaski down here in Georgia actually is a pretty big tourist attraction still to this day. People like to go to Fort Pulaski and look at it and go, wow, that's Fort Pulaski. Wow, that's so cool. Look at that. They hit it with cannons and the walls filled with holes. Which one of those walls is filled with holes? Let's see. Is there a picture of it? There's there a picture? Here we go. The walls filled with holes. Isn't that cool? But beyond that, I do thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, Gunfight61, we wouldn't be able to hear about these interesting days in history, and we wouldn't be able to keep this channel running. And so with that, we're going to make sure to get a live chat in your honor, Gunfox. So what do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
And this one goes to Old Warrior, who says, what do you know about reports that a 13.6-ton penetrating bomb is hit Yemen?
I haven't heard about that. I have to say, I'd have to declare ignorance on that right now. But I do thank you for asking that question. Unfortunately, we just don't have the information on that. And I do thank you for the support as well, Gunfox, and sponsoring that live chat and helping this channel to keep on running. And we are on to the next one.
Also, by the way, this brought back memories. I forgot about this. Someone said those racing snakes are good at speed, but very fragile and not poisonous. Those racing snakes are freaking horrifically fast. Like, those things are horrifyingly fast. I've run across a lot of those. They aren't poisonous, which made me a lot less concerned to be around it. But those things are crazy fast. Like, if you cannot outrun one of those things. Like, if you're near it, and usually they don't charge at you. But those things are just freaking fast. I think the Enforcer remembers those. You remember those, right?
Those things were hell, dude. I hated them. They'd always charge at you at high speed, and you'd have
They
to
weren't charging me.
Man, they charged at me once, man, and I remember that shit was terrifying. It scared me, man. It scared me, and I still remember it because it was right next to our old house, man, and I was out there throwing out the deer corn, and the freaking thing charged me because they threw corn on top of it.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember that now.
Man, I was scared, man, and I didn't even really see the snake. All I heard was that thing rustling and all those little spriggets like flinging around as it came at me, and dude, I was booking it, man. I don't know where that thing went, but that thing was going for me for a hot minute. But still, with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Howard Mendelson, who puts in the 20. And thank you, Howard, as well, for that $20 support. He said, Enforcer Matt, doesn't Kim hold all those offices in North Korea? And honestly, I think Kim is simply called the Grand Supreme Leader of North Korea. And I don't think there's really complications like they have in China, at least to my knowledge. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'd have to agree with Matthew. I think that is the way it works in North Korea. I don't know the North Korean system as well as the Chinese system, so I'd say it's probably definite. But he probably holds even more positions than Xi would, just due to the fact how solidified the power is in North Korea in the Kim regime. And so with that, I think it wants to give her support, help this channel keep on running. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Corsair F4U, who puts in a 20. And thank you, Corsair, for that $20 support as well and helping to keep the channel running. And they said, LSA, Saturday Night Fun. And take one from the chat.
Hey, thank you so much for the support to Saturday Night Fun, which is where we spend all of our time getting to talk to y'all. And that is fun. That is fun in its own right. And so I thank you so much for the support, and we will make sure to get a live chat in your honor. And so what do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
And this one goes to Avari Mendebratis, who says, is sabotage suspected in that explosion at Engels?
Highly unlikely. It most likely was some form of an accident and not a direct act of sabotage, at least what I would assume. But I do thank you for the support and sponsoring the live chat and helping this channel keep on running. And we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Marion Deemer, who's a longtime channel legend as well, and puts in a 20 also. And big shout to Marion for also making the channel possible. And Marion said, pizza money.
Thank you for the pizza money. We actually had Chipotle today, but we were about to have pizza again, but we did not end up having a pizza. But I do thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And we've got a $14 support from Verna Weeks. And thank you very much, Verna, for that 14 as well. And we do appreciate that very much. And do not see a comment attached. But Enforcer, what say you?
I got to thank you so much for the support, Verna Weeks. While you didn't throw in a comment, the support is greatly appreciated. And I thank you once again for helping this thing to keep on rolling. And we are on to the next one.
And we got an 11 from Snowy. And Snowy says, great having your voice back, Andrew. And my question is, would Russia and Belarus be able to cut the flow of the Dnipro River? Because I think you know the story of what happened to the Aral Sea.
Technically they could, although there would be a whole bunch of water rights at play doing something like that, and that would actually be a major international law sort of an issue, although that doesn't really mean anything in reality. They technically could, or they could at least try, although I don't really know where they would divert all of that excess water. But I do thank you so much for the support and helping this channel keep on running. Very interesting question. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. Also, someone said if you do smoke a cigar, you should one time for sure buy a high quality one. Spend $50 to $100. What?
Damn.
No, not for that much. I'm afraid I'm not going to spend that much to get addicted. But they said make sure you don't inhale. Honestly, like I just wouldn't touch it. Honestly, I'm the same way with alcohol. Like occasionally in the grocery store, I'll pass by the alcohol aisle and I'll be like, that would be like good to try that. And I was like, don't even bother. I've heard too many horror stories. Just pass on by and just go about your business. So honestly, I probably won't touch them. But moving on to our next one here. This one goes to the supreme leader of Iran, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much for that support there. They said, big fan. I'm watching on a blazing 56 kilobytes a second.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support. And that doesn't sound like the greatest connectivity, but still glad you're here. And I got to thank you once again for support, and we are on to the next one.
And our next one goes to Shoigu's Ghost, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much, Shoigu's Ghost, for screaming. They said, would China would China instituting its own version of the SWIFT system and knowing that Russia will take advantage of that, how will it affect Putin's ability to fund this insane war?
It will largely affect his ability. Can you reread that again, Matthew, so that way I can hear what he was saying about the SWIFT banking system, because I missed that part a little.
He said, with China instituting its own version of the SWIFT system and knowing that Russia will take advantage of that, how will it affect Putin's ability to fund this insane war?
They may be able to pull funds from that system if possible, and just really simply it helps them to extend the time that they're able to survive in the war, because the more money they have pumping through their system, it simply is the fact that they just survive a little bit longer. So it means that the war might go on longer as a result. And so with that, I hope that does address that well. Thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to all French Champagne, who puts in a 10. And thank you very much to French Champagne, sir, for that support, and we appreciate that. But Enforcer, what say you?
I got to thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible and keep it a reality. So a massive thanks to you so much once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Arby Sawini, who puts in a 10 once again. And thank you very much, Ari, for that support and helping to keep the channel running. And they said, to be honest, the new impersonation gives me anxiety. Maybe a little bit of Marmot to help me cope, LOL.
And we already had the Marmot for the night. But I do thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to give people anxiety with that new voice, dagnabbit. And so with that, thank you once again. I hope it does address that well. And we're on to the next one.
And we have another support from Buzz Blades, who puts in a 10 Australian. And thank you very much, Buzz, for that support. I believe the second of the night. And it said LOC, and take one from the chat.
I got to thank you for the support, Buzz Blaze. I got to say, long live the Lee Spring Army. We will take one from the chat in your honor. So what do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
This one goes to AF Kaplan from the live chat. He said, regarding the Engels nuclear bunker, are there a significant number of civilians who live nearby?
There's kind of they live in Commeyville. That's the closest one. No joke. It's actually just called Commeyville. There it is. But they're not really. It's more so isolated. It's kind of off in the middle of nowhere. There are some small villages, but not big numbers. So I hope that answers your question. And I thank you, Buzz Blaz, for sponsoring that live chat and helping this channel keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to make this thing possible. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to LSA Sergeant Figment, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Sarge, for that support. He said, happy Passover, LSA. Hit the like button. That's in order. And jaga jaga.
And a happy Passover to all you folks out there. You know, it's a Passover time right now. And please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because we are still running this thing day in and day out up until at least the end of this upcoming weekend coming around here soon. We're actually going to be back on our journeys again for a couple of days. We're going to be telling y'all a little bit more about that here in this next week, counting down the days, because y'all going to be missing this again. As soon as y'all thought it was over, no, we're going again. But we promise y'all this ain't going to be that frequent. We just kind of doing this right now to figure out where our HQ is going to be. And once we figure out where that HQ is going to be, we're going to be settling down a little bit. But beyond that, hope that does address that well. Thank you once again. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Merck's Ladybeds, who puts in a 5, and thank you very much for that support. They said, let's see, they said some choice words about Hot Dog Man's habits here, but thank you very much for the support. Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because I'll tell you this, he's having a tough time these days, real tough time. Finally came around and nip him in the ass, and it looks like he's having a terrible time with it. But beyond that, thank you once again. I hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and our next super chat is going to go to none other than Thomas D'Orazio, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Thomas. Also, big shout to Esteban Graves, who put in a 4, along with Blazat, who put in a 4 as well. And huge shout out to Thomas, Esteban, and Blazat for helping to support the channel once again. And we do appreciate it very much. And thank you very much for keeping the channel running. And we also have a 5 from Carson Van McCluber. And thank you for that 5. They said we don't even know if the nukes they have there even work, judging by how everything's been going in Russia so far.
I'd have to say it's not going to be going well. I can promise you that. Matthew, can you reread that again? Because I was trying to get ready for another super chat coming up here in a second. But can you reread that again?
They said they don't even know if the Russian nukes even work.
Oh, I wouldn't even know they work either. Hell, you probably hit them with a hammer and they wouldn't go off. Yeah. But still, I thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, boss man, because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here right now working on them union hours, overtime and all. You know what I mean? We don't get paid for overtime. We just do it. But beyond that, thank you once again. I hope that this addressed that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And this one goes to Kyle Padell, who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Kyle, as well. He said, we have a restaurant in my hometown of Norman, Oklahoma called Dancing Crab.
Hey, that's like that dancing crab meme, you know, when they had that dun, 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 you know, that whole thing. They had that whole thing right there. Man, they have Norman at it. Where's that dancing crab? Where the hell's the dancing crab? You know what? Let's type it in. The dancing crab. Dancing, there it is.
The crab rave.
There it is. There's the dancing crab. There's the giant. That's a giant ass crab right there. What y'all got up here in the dance? Oh, that actually does look kind of good right there. I tell you what. I'm starving right now. I could eat a whole damn dancing crab myself. But I got to thank you for the support and helping this channel keep on running and sharing this with us because, I'm getting hungry. And I'll tell you what, we can only hold out so long once I start to get hungry. But still, thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here right now. And so with that, we're on to the next one.
And this one goes to Ryan H., who puts in a 5. And thank you very much, Ryan, for that $5 support. He said, what do you think about the biotech companies bringing back extinct animals like the dire wolf? Is it ethical, or should we just leave nature alone? Honestly, to me, I would say leave nature alone, personally. I'm not really sure about the details of that. Some people are disputing whether or not that's actually a dire wolf. But the company claims it is a dire wolf from 10,000 years ago. So I don't know if we should be doing that, to be honest with you. It seems like things go extinct for a reason. So to start messing with the ecosystem potentially, it seems a little bit interesting. I'm not sure why they're doing it. Maybe there's a different reason for doing it, but seems a little bit odd. But Enforcer, what say you?
I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be entirely honest. I think when things die, they die, and that's just what it is. You can't bring back the dire wolf. That thing's gone. Kind of dire, I know. But beyond that, if you don't want an animal to die, just don't let it die in the first place. You can't bring them back once they're dead, you know? That's how I put it, at least. Because I tell you what, when I gone out and gone hunting and I shot that deer, that thing won't come back. I'll tell you that, Matthew. But anyway, so that, I hope that does address that well. And they said they modified that wolf DNA, and I heard about that. But some people are saying that thing ain't even a dire wolf because it ain't really even a dire wolf. It's more just a kind of a wolf with modified DNA, you know? So is that thing really a dire wolf or not? You know, that's what they're saying. But beyond that, God, thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, it's time for us to move on to the next one.
And the next one goes to X, who puts in a 2 and says, love you guys, man.
Hey, we love all y'all here in the LSA. And I got to thank you, X-Men, for the kind words of supporting this channel and helping it keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, we wouldn't be able to be here right now running this thing in and day out. I tell you what. So with that, thank you once again. I hope that does address that well. And we're on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Laser314, who puts in the 2 and says 2 weeks, 17,000 customers, still no power in Missouri. No news.
Man, that's unfortunate to hear. I hate to hear that. And while I'm hearing that, I'm hearing something else in the chat. What the hell did I just click into? Bunch of idiots. But beyond that, I thank you once again for support and helping the channel keep it running. But I hate to hear the power keeps out in Missouri. I would guess that must be a state of Missouri. You get it? It sounds like misery. But anyways, thank you once again for support. I hope that is addressed that well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to It Goes Up, who puts in a 2. And thank you very much, It Goes Up. They said, did you say you graduated high school in 2016? I feel old.
Oh, no, I didn't graduate high school in 2016. I went into high school in 2016. Actually, I think I went into high school in 2015, but I graduated in 2020. I was the class of 20. Matthew was the class of 19. So yeah, we're youngsters. We're little whippersnappers. You probably thought I was an older fella, didn't you? Well, I hate to tell you, I hate to inform you, sirs. You've been getting your news from a 23-year-old youngin' for probably the past 3 years. Hell, I literally had just turned 20 when we started covering the news. Now I'm kind of like halfway through being, well, not really halfway through. I'm a couple of months into being 23 now. So, yeah, you know, we're little youngins here. You probably feel real old, don't you? But beyond that, I got to thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. Because if it wasn't for folks like you, us younger whippersnappers out there, 23 years old and older, we wouldn't be able to keep this thing running and make this our job. And so with that, thank you once again. Hope that does address that well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. Also, by the way, let's see here. Laser 314 said, still no power in Michigan. I meant to say, not Missouri. I thought MI was Missouri for some reason. So apparently it was Michigan. So a Michigander of all things. So I guess Gretchen, you ought to go call up Gretchen. But Enforcer, what say you?
Oh, Matthew, you goober. Missouri is M-O. That's Mo, Matthew. Michigan's M-I. That's me.
Mo, Missouri.
Man, Mo, Missouri, please tack on that misery, damn it, Mo, misery. Like but beyond
That's
that,
where Mr. Corgi was born in Missouri.
that's actually where little baby Sheba was born too. They were both from Missouri.
Wow, that's crazy. From Missouri. I thought they were from Wales.
Well, yeah, their breed's from Wales, but they're technically from Missouri. They're all American. It's kind of like ourselves. And Sheba was beating up Mr. Corgi and tearing into ass today. Like I felt bad for Mr. Corgi. I was like, no, Mr. Corgi. But anyways, that's a whole other story for a whole other time. Hey, dear, the power's out in Michigan, though. We can't really make a lot of jokes about that. But you know, it's unfortunate to hear. I hope the situation corrects itself eventually, though. But with that, it is time for us to move on to the next one.
And this one goes to Snowy, who puts in a 2. And thank you very much, Snowy, for that 2. They said, how does the Enforcer do an Arnold sound?
As the governor of California, I have to say, I don't really know if this is good or not. I'm trying my best to do it. I've never really done it before, but I've heard his voice a couple of times, and he's very old now. He doesn't sound like he used to do when he was like, get into the chopper, you know, all that. So he sounds like this these days, I think. I don't really listen to him a lot, but let me know. I have no idea. But that would be my best guess at it. You know what I mean? But I do thank you for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And y'all let me know. Was it good? Was it not? I don't know. Anyways, with that, we're on to the next one. And thank you once again.
Yes, indeed. And this one goes to Blitz, who puts in a 1. And thank you, Blitz, very much for that $1 support and also helping to get the channel running. And with that, folks, that is actually our last Super Chat question of the stream. So once again, thank you all once again for supporting the channel. And of course, I feel like I'm saying it like a broken record now. I'm going to not say it again, but seriously, though, we do appreciate that support. But we are now moving into our live chat questions proper and our Morse Cody Coders first. Tonight, we had Cliff Simonson, Mark Hodges, Earl Benu, Kevin J., Paul Schultz, Dave Millsaps, Her Royal Fluffiness, Arabelle Garbo, Joni Dog, and Norm Pritchett. And they said, tonight's Morse says, so Russia has a casual fire on a nuclear storage site, and there isn't a mention of it? LLT, I will say.
And that was the sound of money. You know, got that down on the nail. That was the worst coverage tonight. Holy moly. I'll get it correct again. On the 1,144th day of the war, it's 1144. Crazy day number, right? And y'all get that right again. I got to say, absolutely impressive stuff right there. And I thank you once again for all of y'all getting that correct, because y'all continue to show the Lee Spring Army what Morse code deciphering excellence looks like. And so I hope that does address that incredibly well for all of y'all. And we're going to be getting into the live chats. Due to the fact that we're overtime, and we don't want to be overtime too much because we're starving to death right now, and we have to eat. We have to feed. We are going to be getting on into 3 live chat questions, and then we're going to be rounding out tonight's stream. So with that, what do we got, Matthew? What do we got?
And this one goes to AJGSXR, who says, didn't Little Boy and Fat Man use a conventional explosive to compress the plutonium and start the reaction?
I think they did. I think you're right. So that means they actually could blow up if they use the same kind of detonation technique. But I do thank you for pointing that out. That's actually a good point right there. And yeah, that the answer to that's yes. So with that, we are on to the second to last question of the night.
And this one goes to You're Taking My Life, who says, have you seen the law that China passed stating that any Chinese citizen that wants to go abroad to the U.S. is mandated by law to spy for the CCP, gather intel, and steal some intellectual properties?
I did not hear about that. If that actually is the case, we should bar Chinese citizens from entering the United States. But I haven't heard of that. If that is a real thing, though, that is absolutely insane that they codified that into law and made that public. But I hope that does address it the best I can, at least according to the knowledge that I have, and my knowledge is not all-encompassing, and I'm not the all-knowing. But beyond that, we are on to the final question of the night. So, who is the lucky last person to throw in that lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is Snowy, who said Carl Vinson, Nimitz, and Truman will be near Iran, but where is the Gerald Ford aircraft carrier group?
I think it's still near the States right now. I think it actually may be in port, undergoing some sort. Where is the Gerald R. Ford? It's in Norfolk, Virginia, at least from what we would know, and that's what I was thinking. But it could be somewhere else right now. But I think it's in port at Norfolk Naval Yard in Virginia. So with that, I hope that does answer your question well. And Andrew Honeycutt threw in a 2 and said, "Hot Dog Man doesn't hold a candle to the enforcers," and that's damn right, especially considering that he's relevant now.
He can hold that L though.
Yeah, he can hold that L up to us, but he sure as hell ain't holding the candle up near us. But still, I thank you so much for the support, Andrew Honeycutt, and I got to thank all of y'all so much once again for watching tonight. Tonight was an absolute blowout night. We had 11.5 thousand people here at the peak, and we had 112,000 views from the beginning of the stream to now. Pretty wild night. I got to thank all of y'all so much once again for watching. I hope y'all have enjoyed. I hope some of our new viewers have enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to subscribe. We run the stream practically every single day. There's going to be a little bit of a comeuppance in the schedule again coming up here soon at the end of this next week, but we run this thing nearly every single day, and we're always making sure to get the news out to y'all hell or high water if we can. I thank you all so much once again for watching, and we will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time to cover the next 24 hours of news from around the world, and not only that, to run our Sunday night fundraiser. And so with that, good night, good luck, take care, stay safe, Slava Ukraini, and long live the Lee Spring Army. The Lee Spring Army will never die.
And with that, folks, thank you all for once again joining us tonight on this day 1144 of the War News stream. And of course, a big thanks to all 112,000 people that joined us, which is a tremendous amount of people, by the way. And we're glad you're all here with us to cover the news. But we will see you all tomorrow midday for another short war video if there is enough news to cover. And right now, I'm a little bit iffy on that because I'm not sure if the news is coming out really very much during the midday. Right now, it seems to be coming out near the stream time. So we'll have to see. But we will have a stream tomorrow, of course. And tomorrow is the Sunday night fundraiser stream. We'll raise more money for Ukraine to help them win the war and also help the civilians of the war too. So thank you all for joining us tonight. And of course, Slava Ukraine, Heroem Slava, get some rest and good night.